Good evening. I'd like to call to order the March 13th, 2024 public hearing on the Tewksbury Public School District's FY25 budget at 5 p.m. Tonight is the third presentation of the budget to come before the committee, and we will have the budget before us one last time in April, where we will be asked to vote for that final iteration to go to town meeting. First, before I hand this over to Mr. Libby, I'd like to thank Mr. Libby and Mrs. Terry O'Regan for presenting the budget to Finance Committee on the 4th. Was that March 4th? It was great. It was a really good presentation. I think it was well done. It was concise. I think their questions were kind of spot on, and I appreciate the time that you guys put into putting it all together to share with the town. So thank you for that. And also, one other thing budget related, a thank you to Mr. Montori for sharing a brief presentation during our TTA negotiations on the stabilization fund and free cash and how that's allocated. He shared some information about standards and recommendations from the state, as well as some of his thinking in terms of how he likes to do the budget. So I just wanted to recognize Mr. Montori. And at this time, Mr. Libby, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo your statements on presenting to the Finance Committee on the 4th. It was some of the questions that they posed to us. It's nice to get a different perspective, because when we look at this, we're so close to it all the time. Questions from another perspective are often good to hear, and I've incorporated some of their questions and some of the slides we presented to them into our presentation tonight, and we'll keep those in going forward. So thank you for the reminder there. So we always focus on our district strategy and our theory of action when we formulate our budget. These are formulated with school committee and district administration cooperation over the past few years on how we believe the district should be prioritized and run. I won't read those to you this time, but they're kind of always at the forefront of our thoughts when we make budgetary decisions here in the district. So the school department budget consists of 4 major parts, 3 of which are managed by the schools: salary, operating, and capital outlay. And one that we share with the town, which is fixed costs. When we talk about the school budget, we generally talk about salary, operating, and capital outlay. We have less control and input over the fixed costs, but it does play a factor in our overall budget number. So the school budget process is very fluid. It begins very early in the year in October. We just settled into a school year at that point, and it's hard to think about budgeting for the next fiscal year, but that's when we begin that process. And it reflects the plan of the district at a moment in time. The needs are constantly changing, and the resources are constantly changing. We find out new pieces of information on a daily basis that impact our budget. So our final budget will reflect these changes between now and our final approval that happens in May. So the school budget is part of the overall budget for the town of Tewksbury. We don't have complete autonomy over the amount of money we receive. We are part of the overall budget of the town. What happens, the way the process works is our budget gets recommended for approval by the school committee to the finance committee and the town manager. And then at town meeting in May, the finance committee recommends the approval of the overall town budget, of which we are a piece, to the town meeting. And then the town meeting approves the budget on town meeting floor each year in May. So the final actual approval of funds for school department and all departments rests with residents who attend town meeting. So where does school funding come from? We start with what we were appropriated the previous fiscal year, and then we do a 60-40 split of new revenues. The town projects new revenues year over year, and the schools then receive 60% of that estimate, and the town receives 40% of that estimate. Overall revenue for the town budget is made up of about 80% property taxes, 15% from state aid, and 8% through local receipts. So as you can see, a majority of our budget is garnered through property tax levy. That 60-40 split has been historically how the spending has gone across the town. If we look back over the years, the school budget has been approximately a 60% spent on the expense side, and the town expending 40%. So that's where we got that 60-40 split, and it's historically worked out pretty well. So an example of the process being a fluid one, since our initial budget presentation in January, we realized what the actual Shawshene Tech budget figures were and had built in a 6% growth factor. And the budget came in for Shaw Tech at a 7% growth factor, or about 86,000 higher than we had projected. So we split that added costs with the town at that 60-40 ratio, and had to reduce our budget from what we presented in January by about $51,000. We took those cuts in our operating side to some areas that we thought we could backfill with some grants, revolving accounts, or areas that we saw that looked like they were trending downward in operating. So challenges faced in formulating this FY25 budget. First and foremost, the collective bargaining agreements not being in place. Typically, we have those numbers. We know, it's 2.5% raise, 2.25% raise, and we can just project that on our workforce going forward into the next year. We don't know what those numbers are going to be going into FY25, because we have no collective bargaining agreements in place. So we're working on multiple contingencies and different methods for meeting any anticipated agreements that we will have coming down the road. That's the biggest challenge by far that we're facing here, but there are others. In prior years, we've been able to look back on actuals to determine needs and/or budget opportunities. This year, we only have 6 months of FY23 data with the new center school building structure to look at things like utilities, transportation, how the physical opening of the center school impacts those operating costs. But we feel pretty comfortable that we have a good handle on how those are going to be affecting us moving forward. So I think we're in a pretty good place there. And the schools are still feeling the effects of COVID-19 and students recovering from learning loss. We want to make sure we have adequate resources to handle those needs, the needs of those students. Use of ESSER grants ending in September of '24. So we want to balance make sure we use those funds appropriately and by the deadline, with the ability to support any recurring needs that we want to keep in place within our budget in the future. We've also got a preschool, want to be looking at a preschool restructure with the additional space available at our PK to 1 schools. we're able to better balance the preschool offerings between the Dewing and Heathbrook schools, offer preschool on both sides of towns in a more equitable manner. So, again, areas of focus for us from a personnel perspective, collective bargaining is the biggest one we're focusing on here. Also assessing personnel opportunities based on currently declining enrollment, particularly at our upper grade levels. Seeing if we have where we do still have needs at our lower grade levels, if we could move some resources around and better support the needs at our lower grade levels. And assessing our grant-funded personnel and fund via our budget if appropriate. Operationally, always searching for opportunities in transportation, utilities, technology, supplies, and maintenance to try to keep ahead of rising cost trends there. Technology-wise, focuses on communications, improve and consolidate systems. We're finding a lot of systems that do more than one thing to communicate with families, and the technology is advancing all the time, so we're always watching for better ways to communicate across the district. And we're continuing our SmartBoard to ClearTouch conversion district-wide. We still have some classrooms with the older SmartBoard technologies. We want to get everybody on board with ClearTouch technology over the next few years so that all teachers and students are experiencing the same level of technology within the classroom. Our printing solutions copier contract is expiring this year. We're currently out to bid and receiving bids back from several companies looking to move into our schools with their copy machines. Building improvements, needs of the Heathbrook and Dewing to get through the next 6 to 10 years. We have a major project about to go out to bid on the Heathbrook School to improve a big area in that school. Building and ground systems, we're always looking at HVAC, electrical, plumbing, security, intercom, PA, and phone systems in each of our buildings that are aging and always in need of improvements. So money-wise, right now, the budget increase request for our salary, operating, capital outlay areas is at 2.54% of an increase requested. We're at 2.63 in January, and then had to adjust a bit based on that Shawshene Tech increase. But 2.54 is where we're at right now. When we consider the fixed costs that get associated with the school budget, it's a 3.09 increase that the schools are requesting and agreed to with the town. Some key assumptions reflected in this current version of the FY25 budget. We brought some the 6 principal support positions we've eliminated that were grant funded in FY24, absorbed 3 adjustment counselors, nurse, and ESL teacher into our budget that were grant funded in FY24. Any known retirees positions will be absorbed or reorganized or filled otherwise by current staff. And this reflects the current school committee bargaining proposals for teachers and education support personnel. Operating, basically level funded operating with these exceptions, increased transportation budget for our known contractual increases we have in place for next year. And we adjusted our out-of-district tuition by 4.69%. Per a memo we received from the Occupational Services Division, which sets the out-of-district tuition rates across the state, and they recommended we that districts build in a 4.69 tuition increase for next year. And this budget also reflects a decrease in the contracted service of one-to-one aides that we're proposing a 3-year phase out of that service with our aides union. In capital outlay, we're reserving all capital outlay in FY25 at this time for the Heathbrook classroom project. When we know what that bid price is, we'll look at some other projects down the road, but at this time, we want to make sure we have funds to get that project complete. So salary represents 71.3% of the school budget. Within that, most of that is, of course, teachers. They're the largest amount of bodies we have in the district, and the largest amount of dollars as well. Added this section here that wasn't in previous sections of our presentation, showing the grant and revolving head count and amount of money. It was a question that came up with the Finance Committee as well, and wanted to show that we do rely on other sources of income for some of our personnel. Food services is one that is completely funded with the revolving funds that are raised through food services. So operating is about 27% of our budget, and broke it down into categories here. It's a little more balanced out than the salary areas, but transportation and tuition are the largest percentage-wise categories, and the others sort of fill in the gaps around the other areas. And capital outlay is just about 1.5% of our school budget, and again, the Heathbrook renovation project being the priority. We also know we need an electrical assessment for the Heathbrook school. That electrical system is completely maxed out at the current time. We're going to try to get National Grid in soon to see if they can do anything to help us on that front. We want to work with the school's PAC on a plan for the Heathbrook playground update. With the movement of preschool students to that playground, we want to make sure we have age-appropriate playground equipment for students that are now attending that school. And we want to make sure we address doing intercom system that's been giving us a hard time lately, and it's important for student and staff communication that system be functional. So I want to make sure we have a good system in place there. Another slide that was requested by the Finance Committee, just a quick snapshot, sort of a report card of our building systems. We put this together for them, and including it in this presentation tonight. We're just sort of showing the system in each building: plumbing, electrical, flooring, roofing, siding, the exterior of the building. And then we gave it a grade, working with our maintenance folks, our technology folks, and then any comments we had. Highlighted any changes from last year, and any projected grades based on any new and upcoming projects, we put in brackets. So HVAC at the Wynn and the Ryan, if we get those projects approved and completed, those grades would be reflected there. Currently, they're in not great shape. So. Also including enrollment figures, just for people's information. This is where we are 23-24, moved ahead to 24-25, and since we don't know the PKK numbers, backfilled using the same numbers from this year, the assumption being we'll have the same number of students in those grades. We don't really know that yet, as the registration is ongoing as we speak. Also including a 10-year enrollment projection that we receive from NESDEC each year. The enrollment projection shows us pretty flat across the board. I think we might bump up 100 or 150 students at the high point around 2030. So nothing too extreme in the way of enrollment growth as far as the NESDEC projection looks right now. So capital projects, these are things we keep on our radar that we'd like to get done if funds become available in some way over the next, we usually do this out about 3 to 5 years. Try to prioritize as much as we can, but we found that the priorities often change based on the condition of things and how soon they break down. So now it's just sort of everything's an even priority until it breaks. Capital projects we've completed over the past 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. More extensive list than last year as we got most of our focus became the center school and opening that school and punch list items and making sure that school was up and running appropriately for the second half of last year. So we operate 51 separate funds for grants and revolving accounts also in the district. All have a specific purpose and must be used related to that purpose, whether it's a grant or revolving fund. And we have approximately 33 positions funded either partially or fully with grants and revolving accounts. This slide shows the revolving accounts, 3-year history of the cash balance as of the end of each fiscal year, a sort of brief summary of the source of the income from where the money gets raised from, and then how the money gets spent. Very brief summary here. I have a couple of slides on the main accounts here, school lunch being a larger one, and circuit breaker being a larger one as well. I'll explain those in a little more detail in the next couple slides. But we want to make sure these balances are appropriate and the funds are used in a manner that's related to the reason we raise the funds. We can't take parking fee money and buy textbooks for the Dewing Elementary School. We have to spend parking fee money on expenses related to the parking area. Okay. All right, this is the slide on the circuit breaker fund. So the circuit breaker is a reimbursement program for high-cost special education services to students. The way it works is at the end of each year, we basically complete a huge Excel spreadsheet and we associate any costs that we spent on a student with the student. And this is an example, tuition is a reimbursable expense. Any services that are provided for the student that we can identify, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavior, et cetera. And transportation is now an allowable reimbursable expense. So the total cost for the student in this example is $170,000. The state sets a circuit breaker threshold, which changes each year. It's the average cost to educate a special education student in the state. In this example, I use $50,000 just to have the math simple. So our gross claim for this student would be $120,000, and the district receives 75% of the gross claim back in year 2. So we would receive $90,000 back from the state in year 2 for student A in this example. So on the right side of the slide here is a 5-year history, sort of the balance we've had on June 1st, the net claim we've had each year. This has been increasing recently for a couple of reasons. They've added some allowable expenses in recent years. Behavioral services got added as an allowable expense, and transportation got added as an allowable expense. So that increased our net claims over the years, as well as the number of students that we are seeing receiving those services are also adding to that increase. And this is how we've been, this is this year's history and projections into next year, what we think we'll be spending and what we will see for the remainder of FY24. Food services area is another one of our larger revolving accounts. Again, 5-year history of our cash balance, and just a summary of our revenues and expenses over the past few years. This is also a fund that's, the cash balance has been growing in recent years. The free breakfast and lunch programs are increasing participation, and the town receives the same amount of revenue, whether it's the program is run as a parent pay program or whether it's funded by the state or federal government. So just the fact that more students are participating has led to increased revenues in cash for us in food services. This is just a quick summary of the past couple of years of our FTEs and the breakdown of the staffing at the schools in food services. Our grants, this is a summary of the funding available for FY24. We don't yet know what our funding will be in FY25. Tends to be similar year over year in our entitlement grants, which are shown in blue here. We do know that our Title I grant will be reduced next year by $183,000. It's this year was about $370,000, so approximately half of the Title I grant will be going away for us next year. It's based on a poverty level of students in FY22. There's a little bit of lag in the data, and our numbers hover right around the threshold that makes us go up and down quite a bit in the Title I support grant. So unfortunately, next year we drop below the that number and be forced to run our Title I program with less funding. So this is what our budget will look like at town meeting with our fixed costs fully detailed. You can see we're expecting an increase to our employee health insurance, and our Medicare costs are also increasing. Building insurance as well are going, those costs we kind of don't have too much control over, a little bit in the health insurance area, but that's based on the number of participants, and we're budgeting for a 6% rate increase for next year. So next steps, continued discussions. We're always working with our stakeholders across the district to identify needs and resources that we can use or must provide here in the school department, and we'll be refining our budget between now and town meeting, and will likely result in movement within these categories, but we feel we should be able to operate effectively within this grand total $75 million budget that we're currently at with the town. The more detailed account level look at our budget is available on our school website, broken down by cost center. Cost centers being either the school or a department in the district, with a summary by the cost center as well on the school's website. And there's also a summary of our budget by DESE code, which the DESE function code sort of represents different functions within the school district, like teaching, learning has its own code. So you can see summarized how the district is spending its money if you want to look at it in that way. And then there's also an explanation of what those codes include. This is a standard that's used across the state when we report our expenses to the state at the end of each school year. And that is that. And happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you. If you want to join us back at the table, feel free.
Sure.
Unless you feel like you need slides, but any questions or comments from anybody?
Well, I'll keep my questions brief. Mr. Levy, thanks for sharing this again. I think I appreciate the additional analysis schedules. I think that's helpful context for some of the initiatives that we're considering and we're looking at over the next year. The one thing I just would like to maybe tuck away and maybe start to think about when we think about goals for next year, when we meet over the summer in our goals workshop in August, as it relates to food services, and this has kind of been a little bit of a sticking point with me, especially on the wellness side of things. We have $1.5 million in that revolving account. I understand that we are funding our food service unit and whatnot through that, and that's wonderful that we can do that. When we have, when you take that out and we have roughly $1 million still in there, like, what is the plan for that? How are we looking at it in terms of options? When I hear things, at certain schools in the district where, maybe we should have a salad bar. And then I hear things like, well, we can't staff that. Well, I think we can staff that. And so just maybe stuff to tuck away as we sort of look at that piece of it. Because I think, we've had people come to our committee meetings and talk about, nutrition and whatnot, and some of the benefits and the harms of some of those things. And then when I see, pictures of things online, and of course, it always looks nice when it's staged, right, of things in other districts, I'm like, why aren't we offering that here in Tewksbury? So again, just something to tuck away. And I think, as we start to think about goals for next year, I'd like to maybe see a little bit more involvement with some of that funding.
Yeah, we're looking into the potential of funding the health insurance piece
Okay.
of food services with some of that funding. and
Health insurance
maybe-
for food service.
Correct.
Okay.
It would have to be the food service employees
Yeah.
funding their own health insurance. We had done that in the past.
Okay.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. If we do that for food service, we need to fund employee health insurance for all of our federally funded programs, which means some of our grant programs
Yeah.
would have to fund their own health insurance. So it would mean less grant money available to perform
Sure.
the grant services that they provide. So,
Understood.
you have to treat all the federal programs the same.
Yep.
So we're kind of contemplating if the benefit of doing that for food services, where we'd have some money there, would be offset with the hit we're going to take in those grants. So
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
it's something we are considering. I'm with you.
All right. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have one question, just to go off of that. I think there's a lot of grant opportunities too in the food services area as well that we could possibly look at to help with some of the funding for that. But my question was around, I know Mr. Montori, when he did his presentation last week, said that there is funding or a budget that's being held aside for capital type projects. Is any of that fund, and I know that he said a specific amount, I forget the specific amount, but specifically for the schools, is that funding being set aside for some of the capital projects that you have? Because on your list of capital projects, it's about $10 million. And I think, is that where we're potentially funding that from? Or
I guess it's sort of how badly we need the projects.
Yeah.
There are wants and there are needs, and when the wants become needs, then we can go to the town and get a request, a warrant article to access some of those funds. We haven't had to do that in quite a number of years. We're going to the Maytown meeting to try to request some money for a couple of the projects we have going on this year. But that's the process.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
we need to go to the town meeting and have a need that we feel that is worthy of a warrant article and getting some funds for.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, may I just
Yes.
clarify? So are you suggesting, though, that we use the food service monies for capital projects?
No,
else?
no.
Okay.
Nope,
I
nope,
just
I
wanted
was
to
looking at
clarify
his
that
capital
there's-
project list. Yeah,
Okay, because there's
yeah.
specific purpose
Yep.
and requirements for the
Yeah.
food nutrition service
Right.
dollars. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Mr. Parsons?
Looks great. Thank you.
And Mrs. B. Joyce Smith.
No, I'll go, Mr. Russo's comment about the money for services. And I'd like to see a little bit more detailed representation of maybe possibilities. And then put your capital projects list out of wants and needs, and maybe we could see something similar.
Yeah,
like that
just
for the
goals,
food
yeah.
services, realm of things, and I'm not saying the next meeting, but somewhere in the next few months or something like that.
Sure.
When we start to talk about options for that.
Especially for the goals.
The goals would be great.
Yeah.
A wants and a needs list would be really nice, just to kind of give us all an idea of where that department lies and what they actually need, because I don't know if I even know.
Yeah, I do know that they have a pretty big equipment project coming up at the Dewing School. I think it was the first estimate we got. We're replacing a cooler, and that was broken. I think she told me it was about a $250,000 project. They got initial pricing from the folks who outfitted the center school. Just, that's the type of capital things we can fund with food service dollars. So has to be in the kitchen areas, but
All right, I just have a couple of things. One, I really am glad you brought back that grading system for the buildings.
Yeah.
And I especially like it because I think being able to look at 2023 to now, you've done a great job triaging priorities that kind of balance the district overall. And
yeah.
I think, there's been a lot of criticism in years past of, are the schools keeping up with the properties and things like that? That shouldn't be a question, at this point, because I think if you're paying attention, you're seeing just how much you've prioritized financially, and the time in the summer, I know is very valuable for these
Yeah.
guys. So I want to thank you for that work.
Sure.
And then a question about the adjustment for out-of-district tuition by 4.69%. That, I assume, is an increase adjustment.
Yes.
Okay. And then no, I think that was it. You covered my next question.
Yeah, and we meet with the special ed department every year, go down the list of where they expect students to be next year, stay at the same location, maybe looking for a new placement. This is the only real way to look at that. We have to go student by student. And from there, once we think we know where students will be attending, then we applied that 4.69% across the board.
Great, okay. I guess my only other question, I think we'll get to it, it's later in the agenda, but when I was looking ahead, we've got some money to talk about there too, I think, with the SOA stuff. So I'm curious about how you made that happen. So
Yeah.
I think for now, I'm good for the budget hearing.
All right.
Right. Anything else from anybody before we?
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Okay, and so it's at 5:42 at this time. We have a motion from Mr. Russo to adjourn an executive session. Is there a second? Second from Mrs. Biagioni Smith. Mr. Parsons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
Mrs. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Biagioni Smith? And I vote aye as well. For unanimous vote, we will adjourn into executive session and return for our regular meeting at 6:30.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, guys, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for your patience, guys. We had to wait till 6:30 for our start time. You ready, Jay? Thank you. So good evening and happy March. I would like to call to order the March 13th, 2024 regular school committee meeting at 6:29 PM. We are just out of executive session where we were discussing approval of the February 14th, 2024 executive session minutes and the collective bargaining pertaining to the TTA teachers and ESP aides bargaining units. At this time, could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the March 12th, 2024 regular school committee meeting will be televised and recorded. It may be viewed live on Comcast Channel 22 and Verizon Channel 34, or on youtube.com/Tewksbury TV. Under the open meeting law, the public is permitted to make an audio or video recording of an open session at a public meeting. At this time, I'd ask if anybody in the room is recording. Seeing no one. I'd like to now pass this on to some of our recognitions, and I'll have Mrs. Terry O'Regan do some introductions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always wonderful when we can recognize some of our amazing students and our amazing staff members. With us tonight, you'll see we are honoring a whole team, some state champions, and a coach of the year. So I'm going to invite Mr. Ronald Druin, our athletic director, up to the microphone and allow him an opportunity to not only boast about the accomplishments of the students with us here tonight, but the winter season in athletics as well. Thank you, Mr. Druin.
Thank you.
Thank you guys all for being here. This is exciting.
What a year we've had athletically. You know, in the fall,
If you can't see us, though, we would love you to come to the front of the line. So if you're feeling a little shorter than the person in front of you, there we are. There we are. Thank you.
you know, in the fall, all 10 of our teams qualify for postseason play, and in the winter we got 8 out of 9, 18 out of 19 teams have reached postseason play. It's been a fantastic year for us in athletics, and our wrestling team is second to none. They were the Massachusetts dual meet state champs. They were the Division III North Sectional state champs, and they were the MIA Division III state champions, first time since 1989. How about a round of applause for them?
Woo!
They finished 5th in the All-States. They finished 12th in New England. A fantastic, fantastic year. They had numerous accomplishments. They had sophomore Nicky DeSisto picked up his 100th win when he won the Division III state championship, which is awesome. They had Hunter Johnson with his 100th win. They had 4 guys, Jack Lightfoot at 106, Nicky DeSisto at 113, Benny Barrasso at 120, and Hunter Johnson at 157 were North Sectional state champions. That unbelievable to get 4 state champs in a sectional. And then in the state championship, Jack Lightfoot at 103, Ben Barrasso at 120, and Nicky DeSisto at 113 were MIAA Division III state champions. So a fantastic year. We moved 7 guys. Am I right there, Coach Kaz? 7 guys to all states? We moved 7 guys to all states. Fantastic year. Hardworking kids, great role models in our building, fantastic leaders. Their captains are just awesome guys to be around. Coach Kaz and Coach Welch and Coach Aylwood and Coach O'Keefe did a fantastic job. Numerous first-team all-conference guys in wrestling, and a first-team all-conference young lady in Brooke Lightfoot. Girls wrestling is growing. It's a growing sport, and Brooke's kind of at the front of it for us. She was first-team all-conference. So there's just so many accolades that we could talk about this team and go. I kind of gave you guys a small snapshot of what they've done, but first team to win the state championship since 1989 is a pretty nice accomplishment. And myself and Mr. Long recognized them in here with Mr. O'Leary and Miss Dick with the luncheon last week. And big shout out to Wicked Cheesy Pizza in town who catered the whole thing. nice accomplishment for them, and very nice of Brian Schofield over at Wicked Cheesy to take care of our kids. But fantastic year, and the thing is most of the team is younger kids, so they're gonna be back here. And I heard right out like the weekend after we were in the state championships and the All-States, we had a bunch of kids that were going down to private wrestling clubs and Doughboy, and we got kids that are kind of all into wrestling here, and it's awesome to see. And the culture in this sport is growing, and I appreciate Mr. Libby getting them more space for practice. It's been awesome. So I know we got some, and I certainly don't want to push Coach Kaz to the back, but I kind of want to focus on the kids right now, and then we can talk about Coach Kaz after that. So I know you guys got some proclamations. If we could kind of roll with those, that would probably be the best way to go, I think.
Yeah. Let's see, is this working, Jason? Yeah. So I'm going to read this. So first of all, I just want to congratulate all of you guys. As a parent myself that has 3 high school kids, I have known a lot of you guys since some of you guys were in elementary school. So this is special for me personally, having watched a lot of you guys come up through the various grades over the years. So I'm just going to read this resolution of recognition here. So whereas Tewksbury Memorial High School boys varsity wrestling team demonstrated hard work, sportsmanship, perseverance, and character throughout the 23/24 season, members including Benjamin Barrasso, Gabe Bushi, Luke Bushi, John Bowen, Miller Brooks, Ryan Callahan, Sean Callahan, James Capiello, Alexander Carcamo, Jordan Delorbe, Angelo DeSisto, Nicholas DeSisto, William Fillmore, Carter Forbes, Cam Heichman, Hunter Johnson, Owen Kinnan, Braden LeGrand, Brooke Lightfoot, Jack Lightfoot, Seamus McDonald, Sam McMillan, Manny Mangata, Anthony Montero, Emeka Olu, Michael Parisi, Michael Parziali, Benjamin Piccolo, Ariel Portillo, Marcus Ramos, Kyle Sandberg, Colin Todd, Joel Torres, Caleb Travato. And whereas the boys varsity wrestling team are the Massachusetts dual meet state champions, Division III sectional champions, and the Massachusetts Division III state champions. And whereas the boys varsity wrestling team brought great pride, recognition, enthusiasm, and honor to themselves, their parents, their families, and to Tewksbury Memorial High School and the town of Tewksbury. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tewksbury School Committee applauds, honors, and recognizes the many achievements of the TMHS boys varsity wrestling team, their coach, and their assistant coaches. Congratulations, boys. And girl. And girl.
And then we have some special recognition here.
Let's have them all look up here a little bit too. Marshall's going to take a picture of you, so you want to look at that. This camera, Jason? This one?
Okay,
All right, got it.
Ms. Bejo
All right,
Smith.
so I have one more, or 3 more to read myself. As a new wrestling parent, this is pretty neat to see what a great program we have here. My daughter just started wrestling in 7th grade, so seeing what she's coming up and into is pretty neat. So I have a resolution of recognition to read, whereas Jack Lightfoot is a sophomore at Tewksbury Memorial High School and a member of the TMHS varsity wrestling team. Nikki DeSisto, a sophomore at Tewksbury Memorial High School, and Benjamin Barrasso, a sophomore at Tewksbury Memorial High School. Whereas Jack is the 106 weight class 2024 Division III state champion as an individual. Let's see, Nikki is the 113 weight class 2024 Division III state champion and New England 113-pound weight class finalist. And Ben is 120 weight class in the Division III 2024 state champion, an individual, under the direction of head wrestling coach Steve Kasparak and assistant coaches. Whereas Ben, Nikki, and Jack brought great pride, recognition, and honor to themselves, their family, and Tewksbury Memorial High School in the town of Tewksbury. Be it resolved that the town of the Tewksbury School Committee applauds, honors, recognizes the many achievements of Ben, Nikki, and Jack. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Sure, awesome to I messed up.
Coach Cass?
You did a nice job talking on that. Yeah, right?
It certainly doesn't happen without, good leadership. Steve Kasperzak is a multiple-time MVC Coach of the Year. He's, I believe, a two-time Division III Coach of the Year. He's, their staff is second to none, and Kaz is at the front, and he's a teacher here in our building, and he's interacting with our guys every day, and multiple sport coach for us, and has helped move our program forward. Anytime you bring a coach in, you want to hope that they can. Your ultimate hope is, can they move the program forward? You know what I mean? And Coach O'Keefe was fantastic. Coach Aylward, Coach O'Keefe, Coach Welch, they're great at what they do. Having Kaz in the gym, Coach Kaz in the gym every day, interacting with our guys, getting them in the weight room, having morning lifts, being able to coordinate practice during holidays and vacations and whatnot has been invaluable in having us move forward. And Coach has this program trending clearly in the right direction, very, very healthy. He's got a great relationship with the youth group, and it has fostered the development of this team here. And, he's a friend. He's a guy who used to play baseball for me back in the day. Coach was a baseball player as well as a football player. And he's a fantastic coach, fantastic friend, fantastic leader of our young students. Steve Kasperzak, Division III Coach of the Year.
This is a resolution of recognition, whereas Stephen Kasperzak is the head coach for the Tewksbury Memorial High School boys varsity wrestling team, and whereas Coach Kasperzak led the Redmond wrestling team to the Massachusetts Dual Meet State Championship and the Division III North Sectional Championship, and are the Massachusetts Division III State Champions, and whereas Coach Kasperzak was named the Division III State Wrestling Coach of the Year, and whereas Stephen Kasperzak has brought great pride, recognition, enthusiasm, and honor to himself, to his family, to Tewksbury Memorial High School, and to the town of Tewksbury. Now therefore it be resolved that the Tewksbury School Committee applauds, honors, and recognizes the many achievements of head coach Steve Kasperzak.
Coach, if you'd like to say a few words, please.
All right, in the speech. I'm just proud of the program that we've built. I have very little to do with it. It's what they decide. They decide the outcomes. They choose to be good kids. They choose to be good students in our building. They choose to work hard. And I just got to put a plan, and they're the ones actually going to put it in motion. And it wasn't just this year. This was a process that took, probably 6-7 years in the making. I'll go back to, I remember when an alumni here was wrestling for us. We lost to Haverhill 60-3. And before we left that gym, we had a conversation in the stands with a group of kids that wanted to make a change and make it different. And that's when the tide started to turn. And we've had great leadership, and I'm not going to say names because I'll leave somebody out, but there's so many deserving guys, some great leadership that was before these guys, but they have taken that leadership and continued that, and that's what programs are. So I'm very proud of the program we had, but it doesn't happen without the support of our town, our administration. Can't thank you guys enough, our custodial staff, because we certainly demand a lot. But just proud, and they're proud Tewksbury kids, one town, one team. And that's not something that's becoming a little more rare, but these are proud Tewksbury kids, and I'm very proud to be their coach. Thank you.
Guys, you want to just step back? Colby, you want to come forward? Fellas, I know they got a long night, so I'm trying to just move this along as quickly as I can, but Colby Mangata is a fantastic young man here at Tewksbury High. big as a house. First team all-conference in the Merrimack Valley in the shot put, and then I was down at Reggie Lewis that day, and on his last throw, he won this last throw. You get 3 throws? You get 3 throws. On his last throw, he threw the best throw of his life and became the Division IV shot put state champion. So congratulations to Kobe Mangata.
I didn't meet you, I thought you were like a distance runner. All right. So this is a resolution of recognition, whereas Kobe Mangata is a junior at Tewksbury Memorial High School and a member of the TMHS Boys Varsity Winter Indoor Track Team. And whereas Kobe won the 2024 Division IV State Championship in the shot put under the direction of head coach Mason Tosh and the assistant coaches. And whereas Kobe has brought great pride, recognition, and honor to himself, his family, the Tewksbury Memorial High School, and to the town of Tewksbury. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tewksbury School Committee applauds, honors, and recognizes the many achievements of Kobe Mangata. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Obviously, it's a great time with what these guys kind of did to start, and now, and then, Kobe filled in the middle, and now hopefully the hockey team can kind of finish up the winter for us. So, any questions regarding hockey? Anything we need to know? Anything you want to know? Game's scheduled to start at 7:30. Don't count on it. I'm sure one of those games is going to go to overtime. We will be doing a little bit of messaging out over the next couple days. Mr. Long and I have sat down with the administration, put together a little bit of a draft to try to help parents along. Police escort, Chief Columbus has been great. Police escort at 6. I believe we are behind. I believe our student section will be behind, and our fan section will be behind the benches. They said the home team today, Mr. Long, am I correct, will be behind the benches. So they do a good job when you get into TD Garden about telling you what section you're on in the stadium and whatnot, in the building and whatnot. So it'll be marked pretty well. But tickets are $20. They are on Ticketmaster. I know there were people that were shut out or was told they were sold out this morning. The first thing they said in the meeting this morning was that they set the limit wrong initially. So the limit has been reset for the entire garden for the entire day. The tickets are available. I went on today, so you can get your tickets. They are $20. TD Garden does control the ticket pricing. So I feel like we have a pretty good message to go out over the next couple days. I think we got our ducks in a row ready to go, and hopefully we can take down Boston Latin for the 3rd time. So anything else regarding hockey? We got a great special on WBZ Friday night, 6 o'clock news. Steve Burton spent a bunch of time with our hockey team yesterday. So if you're home Friday night, check the news out at 6 o'clock. Big special on Redmond hockey. So you good? All set?
Thank you.
Motion for a 5-minute recess. A motion.
5-minute recess. Second by Katie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-minute recess. we resume our meeting at 6:54. I apologize if we're a little more than 5 minutes. You can see we have a spectacular group here with us right now. So Mrs. Terry O'Regan, if you want to share a little bit about them.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm so excited to announce about 105 students, is that correct, Mr. Harding? From our Center Elementary School Drama Club. They will be presenting Peter Pan Jr. on April 25th and 26th at the Wynn Middle School Auditorium. Our students tonight participating in the production with their numerous staff who are assisting them, and obviously some very proud stage parents assisting them through this process. But I do want to recognize some of the staff members that are here with us tonight. Principal Jay Harding, Ms. Joanne Garvey, Ms. Catherine Gagney, Ms. Lindsay Callahan, and not with us, but I think you'll hear the efforts she's put into this group, Ms. Rose Poggio, our music teacher at the Center Elementary School. So our students in this performance include many students working backstage, sets, props, music, and choreography. They are excited to sing Lost Boy to you this evening. We hope you enjoy it and hope to see you all at one of our shows. All right, students, we're excited to hear you.
Captain Hook, run, run, lost boy.
Guys, that was awesome. I can't wait to see the show. I can't wait to see it, so.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for a 5 minute break, maybe? 5?
Second.
Second?
Okay, motion by Mrs. Biagioni Smith, second by Mrs. Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5 minutes, we'll return.
Thank you.
Okay, and we resume now at 7:04 PM with our regular meeting. And I'm losing my spot. So that brings us now to our student representative report with Rania Elwahi. And thank you for your patience.
No, don't worry. No, I actually love that.
Some of the
I think
best
it's so
stuff.
good.
But yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit more mundane than the singing, but it's okay. So to begin, I have some sports updates. So Mr. Druin already talked a lot about sports, but as we know, winter sports are already coming to a close. We have a lot of athletes who qualified for MVC meets, playoffs, states, all states, and much more. So to begin, the TMHS girls varsity basketball team finished their season 11-11 and finished as the MVC2 co-champs. The boys hockey team, as we know, they're going to be having their state championship this Sunday at TD Garden. The varsity cheerleading team had a season best score at the state cheer championships, which are held on March 10th. Redmond Wrestling, as we know, were first in the region, D3 state champion, fifth at all states, and 12th in New England. And the spring sports sign-up meeting was held on Monday, March 11th. Some club updates I have for us tonight are on February 16th, which was the half day before vacation, the National Honor Society released their decision letters, and those who were not accepted were allowed to submit a letter of appeal to Ms. Puma. The NHS induction ceremony will be held on March 26th in the auditorium. Last week, DECA state qualifiers attended SCDC, or the State Career Development Conference, which was last week in Boston from March 7th to March 9th. We had several national qualifiers who will be attending ICDC in April. And additionally, 5 members of DECA will be attending the ICDC Leadership Academy due to the 5 leadership allocations received. Also this week, from March 6th through March 8th, the Student Council attended the MASC State Conference, where they learned new leadership skills, attended several workshops, and learned different ways to better the Student Council as a whole. Social Host Night for Junior Prom was held on February 6th. Tickets for Junior Prom are currently being sold at lunches. They're $65, and they will be available until this Friday, March 15th. Junior Prom will be held on April 11th at Blue Ocean Event Center in Salisbury, Massachusetts. Yesterday, the TMHS class of 2025 held a 3v3 basketball tournament in the gym, and they raised over $250 for our class. TMHS JCL is hosting a fundraiser from March 6th to March 14th to dress their teacher up as Julius Caesar and subsequently raise money for their club. The Interact Club held their second blood drive of the year on March 1st, and the math team had a great run, breaking 60 points this season and having a terrific final meet of the season at Chelmsford High School. Just some miscellaneous information I have includes that AP French, AP Spanish, French and Spanish 4 will be attending the Museum of Fine Arts on March 28th. The Guidance Office is hosting 3 college tours, SNHU on March 26th, Endicott on April 2nd, and Worcester State University on April 9th. And lastly, only 30 copies remain of the class of 2024's yearbook, so people should buy that now. So that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any comments, questions?
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Rania.
you.
Appreciate it.
Rania.
No, thank you. And congratulations to you for your participation in DECA.
Oh, thank you so much.
This weekend as well.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, thank you for being here. Okay. And then presentations, that would bring us to Alphabet. Mrs. Terry
Yes,
Regan?
thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We all know our parents enjoy the time during the school day that their students spend being educated. They also enjoy and depend on us for before and after school care through our partners, Alphabet. I'm pleased to introduce to you tonight 2 of our directors for our Alphabet after and before school programming, Ms. Adrienne Di Pasquale and Ms. Cheryl Catanzano. They're here to not only update you on the current services we run for our students at Tewksbury Public Schools, but also some potential new upgrades to the offerings for our parents and students, as well as our staff. So we're going to pause for a minute as they get their presentation back up and running. We're doing, Jason, if you could help them out.
I have to hit a button.
Welcome, thank you for being here.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much for having us.
Let me just add that Ms. Kim Christopher was going to join us but was unable to. She's, one of the directors that we serve our entire region.
Thank you so much for having us. We are thrilled to be here, and while we have not prepared a song, and we do not have accolades in achievement in wrestling or any of the sports to speak of this evening, we are thrilled to talk about our partnership with Tewksbury Public Schools, a partnership that we value so much. And just seeing the participation of the community and the children this evening really just inspires us and allows us to take a moment for pause to say to you all, thank you for allowing us to be a part of your community. As Superintendent Regan mentioned, we are your Alphabet team, and so Kim Christopher, she is our National Director of District Partnerships, unable to attend this evening, but she does play a very important role in the partnership that we have with you all. I'm Adrienne, the Regional Director, and to my left, Cheryl Catanzano, who is our Area Manager and does a lot of the on-the-ground work with our field teams. We do have some documents that we have for you in front of you this evening. We have, firstly, the impact report. And the impact report is really just an opportunity for us to provide you with a snapshot of what it looks like in Tewksbury for Alpha Best. So currently, we've got about 259 students enrolled in our before and after school programming. This does not include things like our February and April vacation camps and our summer camp. That will be separate data that we can capture and provide for you. But you'll notice, just compared to the data on the bottom from the previous school year, we've increased the enrollment, which is really exciting that we're able to serve additional families this school year. As you kind of dig into our impact report a bit, on the left-hand side, you'll see there's information there regarding our staffing. And while there's a great snapshot of staff there, something I'd like to just add is that 22 of our staff members are actually residents of Tewksbury, which is really exciting. We also have 9 college students and 4 high school students, 2 of which are right here at Tewksbury Memorial High School. It's really exciting. We'd love to have them as a part of the programming. The high school and college kiddos really add a lovely component and provide great role model for our students in the programming. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll see just kind of an overview of the different curriculum components that we offer in our programming for students in our before and after school programmings, as well as during any of the vacation week camps that we offer and summer camp. In addition to that, you'll see there's notes about social emotional support. I'll talk a little bit about that coming up, as well as our opportunities to work with our partner KIT, which is an opportunity for us to provide accommodation plans for students so that we are always inclusive and able to accommodate all students across Tewksbury, which is really exciting. Then on the back of the impact report, just a note about tuition rates and where they currently stand. Also noting that we do offer scholarship opportunities, and we are currently providing 5 scholarships to families in the district. In addition to this information, I wanted to share with you that Alpha Best takes pride in the opportunity that we provide for students in our programming, so that we're not just providing a space for their families to have their kiddos be in the school setting where their children are all day, but in addition to that, we're trying to provide experiences to enrich their academic support of the day. So we try to wrap around the school day in a really nice way and provide this robust experience for students. So you'll notice that we have opportunities in the visual arts, robotics, coding, drama. We teach sign language, which is a great fun time. But in addition to that, we're offering those outdoor experiences. We are also offering recess and fitness activities, as well as homework help. We know that's really important, and we know how busy families' lives can be, and we want to be able to offer the support. As I had mentioned, we do have high school students and college students working with us, and they provide a real nice resource for that homework help each day. Alpha Best takes a lot of pride in the partners that we across different curriculum areas. So we really try to lean into the experts in the field and work with research-based programming from Lego Robotics right here in Boston Museum of Science, as well as Second Step, a leader in social emotional learning. These different partners provide the curriculum, activities, and experiences that children get to participate in each day in our programming. And we rotate them so that kids are never exposed to the same thing year after year, but instead it spirals every 5 years so that kiddos have a nice, again, robust experience. You'll see here some snapshots of kiddos in our Maker and Engineering. They really do have an opportunity to be posed with a challenge where they then have to think through, how could we problem solve this? And kiddos have a really fun time designing the ways that they're going to solve that problem, imagining, being creative with their peers. You'll see there's lots of collaboration and hands-on engagement. They get to also test their designs and make improvements. So we really put them through the true engineering and design process. And they love getting messy. They love it. In addition to that, for world languages and arts, as I mentioned, we'll work with American Sign Language, but also help teach about all the different cultures. You'll see here featured some cartooning opportunities, as well as some different opera masks that kids were making after they were learning about China. Fitness and movement, we believe, is quite important for kiddos these days. We always want to make sure that they are moving their bodies, but we want to move them in effective ways, and we want to make sure that we are giving them opportunities to learn new things. For example, in this quarter, we break our year into quarters. In this quarter, kiddos are learning how to play cricket, which is super fun. And it's a great experience for them to try something new and different in addition to those games they already know. We do love to incorporate technology whenever we can, and you'll notice in both the literature that we've provided this evening for you, as well as here, we like to give kids opportunities to experience real world and current kinds of technology. So kiddos are working on programming and coding. You'll see here examples of Bloxels, which is based in video game design. They have a blast working with actual physical blocks to design it, and then they turn it into a video game using an app on the iPads that we provide for them. Over the course of a school year, as I mentioned, we will rotate through different activities. We know that variety is really important for kids, and we know that we also want to expose them to all different kinds of areas so that they can kind of tap into their interests and also take what they're learning from their school day and apply it back to what they're doing with us. So we work through a week of activities, and each day is a little bit different. So Mondays might be their fitness unit, while Tuesdays they're doing some kind of art or drama in arts. On Wednesdays, they might be doing languages. Thursday is maybe that STEM technology opportunity. And on Fridays, the ever so popular and fun Maker Days, which they love. They really get an opportunity to be creative, and kids will ask, can we keep this? Can we keep working on this? Even when that unit is done, they're excited to continue to work on things when they can. I did reference our opportunity to connect for social emotional learning, inclusion, and positive behavior supports. We know that in education today, it is really important to be meeting kids where they are at, and with AlphaBest, we are no exception to that. We want to be able to provide for students all of the support they need. In the morning, we often see kiddos are coming in, and we might help them to launch into their day so that their school day starts in a positive way. So we'll start with community circles, opportunities for engagement and conversation and collaboration. And in the afternoon program, we might see that kiddos come in having maybe had a hard day or had something come up that was a challenge, and our staff is prepared to support students through those opportunities. We do have a relationship with Second Step, which is a leader in the social emotional curriculum area, and they actually have a separate out-of-school time program. And so we use those activities. We will run the activities with students in order to allow them to continue to develop their whole selves. We have a partnership with KIT, which stands for Kids Included Together. They provide us with an opportunity to basically be a resource center and a hotline for us to call out to say, we're noticing kiddos are struggling with X, Y, and Z. Do you have some ideas, tips, best practices, maybe an intervention that we can implement in the program in order to allow our students to be successful? And this has been something that we really leaned into in the past year or so to, again, continue to develop our best practices as a team to be able to provide the same kinds of experiences and supports that kiddos are getting during their school day. We're really excited about summer, of course, because summer is always a real hot, fun time for us at AlphaBest, and this year will be no exception. We just launched our summer registration and are happy to report we already have 100 families who are enrolled in our summer programming, and we are so excited to be able to provide those full-day opportunities for families. In addition to that, we have some other exciting news to share. We are excited about some enrichment opportunities that we would like to provide for students of Tewksbury Public Schools who do not already attend AlphaBest. This would be an add-on program so that students can come in, participate in these engaging, hands-on, curriculum-based activities so that they can experience the joy, the excitement, and the wonder of AlphaBest, even if a family doesn't need that necessary time and support in the afternoon program. In addition to that, we've been working with Superintendent Regan to develop a childcare program for the staff of Tewksbury Public Schools, and we are really thrilled to share that we are currently working with our licensor so that we can be EEC certified for the state of Massachusetts, as well as Principal Harding and Principal Rogers over at the Center Elementary School to make sure the space is ready for the kiddos, align the programming with what we need for your teacher's school day, and to provide a great experience so they have the comfort of taking their kiddos right to school with them. So we are really excited about these opportunities and so excited to continue to develop our partnership with you. It has been a partnership that we found so valuable. And again, a part of your community is something that we really love to be. So thanks for including us in all of that. And thank you for your time tonight, despite my lack of songs and accolades and achievements. I do want to say we are thrilled to be your partner, and we are here to provide whatever you need. So we appreciate feedback, we appreciate the opportunities, and hope that we continue to be able to provide more.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I add, I think it's worth noting, I mean, you can see why we're just so excited to continue and grow our partnership with Alpha Best. They're just so creative, so enthusiastic, really thinking of our kids first. It's been since 2018.
Wow.
It's hard to believe it was that long ago that we started this journey together, and I can't say enough about how adaptive and responsive and forgive me, Kim, if you're watching, the national director and people even above Kim are whenever we reach out for more. So we're excited about some of those potentials for the future. I'm sure you have some questions. I can tell you right now, our survey with staff, while we're not ready to start an infant program immediately, we have approximately 21 families interested in staff families within our schools interested in having during the school daycare for their toddlers. So we're excited. We're close to ready, but
Absolutely.
details to still iron out.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. Any questions, comments? Mrs. B. Johnny Smith, I'll go here first.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple. So the first one, I have the add-on program that you mentioned. What are the age groups for that?
So that's going to be, we're going to start that at Bridge Elementary level. So we're going to start that over at the center school as sort of our pilot, just to kind of get the feel for how that would go and to be able to make sure we're successful. We like to be purposeful and intentional and ensure that we are, again, allowing access to all families. So we're going to start that at the center school.
Okay. And then the next question is kind of a two-part. It has to do with enrollment. Do you know how many families you may have on a waiting list right now for during the year?
Share that, absolutely. So firstly, what I will say is that our waiting list is something that we have been tackling over the course of the school year, and that as we have space available, we are offering those opportunities as well as partial opportunities. So if a family enrolls in a 5-day-week program, but I have 3 days available, Cheryl's calling those families to say, we've got these 3 days available, do you want to start there? And we'll kind of work from there. So that's the first piece. Do you want to speak a little to that?
Yes.
Cheryl?
So when I came on board, we had a sizable wait list. And so what I've been trying to do is chip at it little by little. And now we're down to about, at the center school, which is our largest, 15 kiddos, so which really is, I'm really proud about that. And we have some new staff that should be coming on, so I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks to have that completely cleared. At the other schools, the wait list now is like single digits. So we're really chipping away at that to try to make sure that every family has the opportunity to have the childcare that they need.
In the best shape we've been in so far since I've been with Alpha Best since 2021, and the best shape we've been in waitlist-wise since. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And you said there was about 100 in the summer program. Is there a wait list for that, or how many are you taking for that?
So we have our capacity set at about 110, and that again is something we can continue to grow. We're currently working on staffing the summer program, and we currently have the staff to support 110, but we can certainly go beyond that as we wanted to see what the interest was, and once we kind of hit that mark so quickly, we're continuing to hire to ensure that we're able to add more families.
Okay. And then I have one last question. It seems like it's a robust program before and after school. What do the staff go through for training to kind of make sure that this goes off without it,
Absolutely, that's a great question. So what I'll share in terms of training for the curriculum-based activities specifically is that we have a learning and development team. And our staff will engage with the learning and development team in various capacities. One capacity they'll engage in is what we call these quarterly overviews. So they will hop on a call virtually, and across the organization nationally, our site directors, our group leaders who work in the program with the kiddos are being trained by our professionals who are, again, the experts in the field. In addition to that, we utilize what we call facilitated learning. We don't expect that all of our staff are going to be experts in delivering, and we know that in education it's really important that you're giving the correct information. Right. So what we do is we have the experts who lead a lesson via video, 5 to 7 minutes. It's just basically a snapshot, gives them an opportunity to kind of give the background context of the activity the kiddos will be doing, and then our staff do the demonstrating and supporting and implementation within the program.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Great. Any questions, comments over here?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I guess a comment first. My 7-year-old is begging me to go into the Alpha Best program, even though we don't need it. But I'm glad to hear that there's going to be future opportunities for him to take a part in it. So that's great news. Just a couple questions. For the folks that you're hiring over the summer, is there opportunities for kids in our community to take on roles in your program?
Absolutely. We
Absolutely,
would
yep.
love that opportunity. And we can certainly provide information about how kiddos can do that. We, again, as I had mentioned previously, have high schoolers and college students that work for us, and not only do we just enjoy being able to give back to the community in some way through experiential moments in their work with the kiddos, but we also find the kids in our programs, they gravitate toward those young spirits. They want to be engaging with those high school and college kiddos, and they see them as a role model. So it works on both sides, and it's a win-win.
Yeah, it'd be great to get that information out to the kids in the high school.
Love to do that,
yep.
absolutely.
Okay, that's all that I had. Thank you. Actually, when Bridget and I came to see you at the summer program, so if there's anything else you guys need to help support that program over the summer, just feel free to reach out to Mrs. Regan or any of us.
I appreciate that so much, and thank you for your visit. That was so lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Russo?
Yeah, no, my colleagues have asked all the questions, a couple things that I had, so you've covered it. I just would add, I know it's senior project starting in 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks for the seniors, graduating seniors this year. So talk about a wonderful opportunity, but I'm thoroughly impressed with the fantastic application and exposure that our younger grade kids, they have an opportunity to really become well-rounded and really, figure out what they like and they don't like, right? We always talk about so many opportunities at the secondary level grades, and so to see it at the elementary level is a wonderful, I appreciate that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate that feedback. We want to see ourselves as an added value to your community.
Yep.
So I know you can do that.
And I've only been with Alpha Best since September. I have a teaching background, and I've been doing after-school care. This will be my 10th year. And when I came to this program, it was like none other that I have ever been in. So the first question I ask Adrian when I'm being interviewed is I ask about curriculum, because where I was providing the curriculum. So if it was March, we were doing, leprechauns. And so when she showed me this vast rainbow of things that they were doing that were so unique. So last quarter, they were working on Nigeria, and these kids were learning the culture, and they were doing some crafts. And then the joke around the office was everybody was getting a Cricut. We thought they were getting a Cricut machine. No, they all got the tools that they needed to play cricket. The curriculum just blew me away, and it's stuff that the kids are drawn to. It's not like, oh, it's homework, we have to do that. It's actual fun stuff. The place that I came from, which I won't mention, the YMCA, I won't mention it. However, I remember saying to them, let's do a maker table. That's really hot right now. Let's do that. I can provide all of the necessary tools. It's easy. It's stuff around the house. It's stuff from Dollar Tree. You can do that. And they just swept it under the rug. And I came here, and then Fridays are maker days, and the kids love it.
Yeah.
So I was so impressed at the level of thought that went into this program, because it's so well-rounded. You have the drama, you have the language, and there is something that every child likes. They're drawn to something. Maybe something they, may not want to try. Maybe they don't want to try the cricket, but they certainly want to make that mask. So it really is, it is a step above most of the other after-school programs, because I've seen them. You walk in, you're doing your homework, you go to the gym, you go home, there might be a snack. This is a program unlike any other that I've ever worked in. So I can tell you, it's an amazing experience for your children.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the scholarships and offering those. 5 is excellent. There's always a need for more, and our population is changing, and thank you, and
Absolutely.
more is always welcome too.
Absolutely. We are happy to be able to provide that opportunity. And we always lead into the schools. We look at the administrators as being the experts in knowing the families and knowing what we can do to provide the support. Mr. Harding reached out a couple months ago to say, I need immediate care for kiddos for Monday. It was a Thursday. I said, you got it. We made it happen.
Yep.
And, we took a couple days and we just made it
Yep,
work.
we did it.
So.
Thank you.
My only question, too, of the 259 students that are enrolled, how many families is that? If you had to guess.
Excellent question.
Yeah, 'cause
I don't
they're
want to give
siblings,
you
so, yeah.
the wrong number, but I'm happy to share that with you, absolutely. I will just do some
I'd
research
just be
on
curious.
that.
It's not
Yeah, that's an excellent
super
question.
important, but yeah.
We do have a good hand of multiple children families who attend, so I'm happy to go in and grab that data.
Okay. And then I'm really excited to hear about the daycare program. We attended a nice session at the conference back in November where we were able to hear from another district, one of our, abutting communities, that just the work-life balance it was providing to staff, just all the good things. It sounded really great. One of the biggest draws was the cost was so affordable. And I think as we consider and look at, we know what people are getting paid in our district. So anything at all that can be kind of worked around to make that very affordable to families, I would appreciate a lot.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's part of our job is to look out for,
Absolutely.
their
We
well-being
completely
in that
agree
way
with you.
too.
Absolutely. And we, just to be able to provide this opportunity for your
Yeah.
teachers, and Cheryl mentioned she comes from the classroom, I do as well, and I brought my daughter to my building with me, and she was right there. So I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
And again, having that be cost-effective is something that's wildly important as well to families.
Right. Thank you so much for hearing that.
pleasure.
So yeah, again, thanks for coming. Always nice to have you and,
Yes, we'd love to be here. Thanks for allowing us to participate.
Yeah. Yeah, if any of the members want to go during the summer, I think it's a nice thing to see in person too.
Thank you. Perfect.
Good job.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take an item out of order, line item 17A from old business.
So that would be, okay, so we have a motion to take item 17A from old business, which is the discussion regarding the use of the North Street School. All in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye. Aye. Okay, so that was a motion by Mrs. Biagioni Smith, and there was a second from Mrs. Anderson, so in case you need that over there. Okay, so this was really intended, we had talked about this in November, about bringing it to our February agenda, but we didn't discuss it in February, but here we are in March. I would like to first open up to administration to give us any comments, thoughts as to what the building's been used for the last few months, and your thoughts on if there's any purpose for those buildings, that building, because we're just only on the North Street.
Well, I'll start with a spoiler alert. At this time, the Tewksbury Public Schools has no current or future need to maintain the use of the North Street School. And you are correct, Madam Chair. Earlier in the school year, we opened it up over the fall and through the winter season to provide overflow space, gym space, if you will, for our Tewksbury Memorial High School cheer team, dedicated space for them to practice and house their mats. At this time, they're all done. We no longer need the space for students or our athletes. Next year, we'll certainly make sure to designate some space for the cheer team at one of our other schools or facilities. I think it's also important to note, from the town's perspective, we've also opened up the Trahan and the North Street as needed to the Tewksbury Police Department to do their emergency drills and training. I'm sure if you decide tonight to turn the North Street School over to the town, like we did the Trahan, I'm sure they could do the same as long as the building is still standing to assist our police department. Dave can speak a little bit on the status of the buildings, the facility itself, from the maintenance, utility, and security perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still running the heat in the building and the electricity, water, just to provide the comfort levels we needed for the programs that we're running there. We would, if we turn the building over, we just recently ended the cheer season, so there'd be no reason to keep the heat on beyond now, basically. And when we turn the heat off, we can drain the pipes, shut the water down as well. We do keep the electricity on We have kept the electricity on at the Trahan School for the alarm system to be functional, and that is very minimal charges we've seen on the electricity there. So I would assume we would follow the same tact with the North Street going forward if we were to turn this building over to the town.
Okay,
Which is currently slated for the town meeting.
okay. All right. Any discussion from the committee?
No, I mean, I personally support the decision to turn it over to the town. I think, when we were using it for recreational overflow and high school teams and whatnot, it gave them a home, a temporary home, and we knew that the intention was always to turn those over, and at the time, the Trahan made sense, because no one in the school district was utilizing that building. I guess just a question, have we had any issues or concerns in regards to loitering or any police assistance needed at any of at the North Street School or anything like that? Have we had any issues from that standpoint?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge, okay.
At the Trahan, we had some issue. Was that over the summer?
Had a few incidents at the Trahan.
Okay, okay. But we've now since turned that over to the town anyway, so, okay. Okay.
Again, the reason to leave the electricity, I mean, it's minimal, but
Yep.
we do want to run those security systems.
Yep.
So we're alerted if should
Yep,
anything,
if
or the
something-
town will be alerted once the
Right.
town takes over those accounts.
Yeah.
Mr. Parsons?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Ms.
No,
B.J. Smith?
no, thank you.
Mr. Libby, in your budget, did you account for any cost of the North Street School at all?
No, we did not.
Okay, perfect, okay. I'm in agreement that if there's no future use for the schools and there's no current use for the schools, for the school department, that I am in favor of bringing that to the select board and having that come forward to town meeting, to turn back over. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to make a vote to turn the town, to turn over to the town, the North Street School, to be voted on at town meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, so a yay will indicate that we are all in agreement, or your vote is in agreement to relinquish the North Street School back to the town for use by the select board. Okay, and roll call, I'll do Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Yay.
yay, Mrs. Anderson,
Yay.
Mrs. B.J. Smith,
Yay.
and I vote aye as well, so that's a unanimous vote. And we'll get that paperwork together and get that over to select board. Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Libby, for all your work, keeping that building online and taped together, so to speak, for the little bit of use that we did have for it this winter.
Thanks to Mr. Marchand and the maintenance.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Of course,
It's a small miracle.
yeah. My thanks was to them through you, but of course, yeah. And that brings us to Citizens Forum. Would you like to have a moment?
I'm still kind of confused, of course. So it's my understanding now that you're going to turn it back over to the town, as of this meeting right now?
Correct.
Okay, so the school committee will have nothing to do with it once it's approved and all of that?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just disappointed that this has taken 2 years. We're going on 2 years with these buildings. And my frustration is just, I look over at that school, I just say, what are we doing here? I mean, it's just like, again, didn't listen to the people. Had the survey, had the reuse committee, didn't listen to the people. That's what I'm disappointed in, not only in this committee, but in the town as a whole itself, going back to town hall. There should have been more definitive answers back when the new school was being built. And it's very disappointing and very disheartening, as Mr. Libby has spoken here, that there were some expenses for these schools the last 2 years. You know, for what? For what? Why were we spending that money on 2 empty schools? I understand you were having the dance and you were having the police and everything, but it should have been solved at the same time the school was being built. It's passed, I understand that, but it's frustrating that it's taken this long to get here. So I'll let it go at that.
I understand, and I just think for a point of clarification, the schools were evacuated as of January of last year,
January
Okay, I understand that.
mid-January, and then also, the only oversight that this committee has is if there's educational purpose for use.
I understand that.
So that's, we stay
Well,
within
I
our
understand
purview.
that, and as I said at the last meeting, you got more important things to do, and I'm all for that. I have 4 grandchildren in the schools, so I'm all for all that, and the education and what's important to you. But now, before this meeting, you've owned that school, so that's a responsibility on you on top of your educational deal.
Correct.
But it's important to me, as having a financial interest, to the building that's next door to me, not knowing what's going on. And I don't understand that when the school was being built, at, what were we at, 165 million?
95 million, and then 95 million.
Okay, 95 million. So for the $4 million to tear the 2 schools down, I don't understand why that wasn't budgeted. You knew what we were doing, but didn't budget to take 2 more schools down? And if it's $4 million on top of 95, I don't know. It kind of seems like pennies to me. And when you look at the overall picture, $4 million more, I don't think would have broke the bank, and I don't think it would have broke the taxpayer. But be it as it may, as long as now it's over to the town at some point, whenever they accept it,
I appreciate your comments, Mr. Anderson,
we'll
and
go from there.
we'll go from there.
So I guess I'll go back to the town now to bitch. You won't see me anymore.
Madam Chair, and Mr. Anderson, certainly happy to sit down and talk about some of those other questions you had.
That's fine, and I apologize because I was away for
I know.
a short period
We
of time.
haven't
So I
forgotten.
apologize for that. So if it's sometime you want to send me that email, that's fine. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Forward
Not
to
here to
again.
hurt babies. I just think it's, some of the things that, going back to that reuse committee is now, and I went to every meeting, and it just kills me that nobody listened to what the people wanted. And that's what's disappointing. And as you know, today, I read Shashin, Trahan, I'm sorry, Shashin when I was a kid. But Trahan, they got nothing on the RFPs.
Right.
And I know they're still talking with people, but they got nothing. So what does that tell you? I mean, if they're not getting anything, you know, what's the sense of having them? My biggest thing is, I don't care what's done after. Tear them down, leave an open space for right now, just grass it over, just so that we're not looking at blight. That's all I'm asking for.
Understood. Thank you again.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Listen to my bitch.
Thank you. Okay, moving on now to approval of minutes with Mrs. Anderson.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 14th, 2024 school committee meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Anderson, a second by Mrs. Biagioni Smith. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And submission of payment of bills.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the payroll period ending February 15th, 2024 in the amount of $1,607,568.25.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Anderson, a second by Mrs. Biagioni Smith to approve and certify the payroll period ending February 15, 2024, total amount of $1,607,568.25. Roll call vote, Mr. Parsons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
Mrs. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Biagioni Smith?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the payroll period ending February 29th, 2024 in the amount of $1,638,056.94.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mrs. Anderson, a second by Mrs. Biagioni Smith to approve and certify the payroll period ending February 29th, 2024 in the total amount of $1,638,056.94. I think by I lost a couple of.
You got it.
I lost a couple of dots in there. Sorry, roll call vote. Mr. Parson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
Mrs. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mrs. Biagioni Smith?
Aye.
Okay, and that's a unanimous vote as well. And now for our superintendent and staff reports, I'll start with you, Mrs. Terry Regan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The first of my updates is in your consent agenda, and it's our Care Solace monthly impact update. You can see that our school community continues to take advantage of the support network. Our staff are connecting our students and families with the mental health resources they're seeking for after and outside of school. The report shows us that there have been 56 cases of individuals receiving help, and 49 of those cases connected with appointments for care. On the topic of our students staying healthy and well during the school day, I want to update you on the Wynn Middle School Addressing Student Cell Phone Use Pilot. If you remember last spring, we shared with you new research around the negative impact cell phones are having on our students. The research has shown that the level of addiction and reliance many students exhibit with their cell phones negatively impact a student's social emotional well-being, as well as their ability to learn and focus at school. DESE challenged and encouraged Massachusetts school districts to address student cell phone use during the school day by supporting creative approaches with available grant dollars. What you have in the consent agenda, and if you remember, grades 5 through 8 made this one of their top school improvement goals. If you remember, they shared that with us in August at the annual goal retreat. The Wynn administration and the Wynn School Council have made quite a bit of progress in planning to further support our students in this initiative. The timeline in your consent agenda shares with you that planning and communications the Wynn has had with staff, families, and the students so far. The Wynn School Council is now prepared to utilize the grant dollars that were approved back in September to purchase the Yonder pouches and pilot this approach after April vacation through the rest of this school year. So through the approval of the consent agenda, they can move forward to use the grant with the school goal. Additionally, Mr. Ware and his school council welcome the opportunity to come to the April school committee meeting to further inform you of the full details of the pilot. They will further communicate with families prior to the pilot as well. The next two items I share with you with mixed emotions. First, our Director of Student Services and Special Education, Mr. Richard Pelletier, has officially confirmed his decision to retire on April 30th of this school year. Mr. Pelletier, or Rick as we all know him by, has been with the district for 13 years and has supported thousands of students and families needing service and support through our special education programming. His letter of retirement is in your consent agenda as well. Ms. Candace Tharrett, our Assistant Director of Student Services, will be stepping up for the remainder of the school year. I expect to share more with you before the May meeting as to our plans in filling this pivotal role for the next school year. Next, our assistant, you can't look at me. No, she probably shouldn't look at me during this. Next, our Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Lori McDermott, will end her career with Tewksbury Public Schools on June 30th, the end of this school year. Lori will be moving on to our neighboring community of Billerica as the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. While it's certainly not time to say goodbye to Lori yet, as she is still serving Tewksbury through the end of the school year, I do want to congratulate her as her new contract with Billerica was accepted last night at the Billerica School Committee meeting. Lori has been a great partner to me and a valued member of our leadership team, and I know she'll stay dedicated to all of us and to all of our students and families throughout the remainder of the school year. On that topic, we will be hosting interviews for our new Assistant Superintendent of Schools next week. I have assembled a full interview committee of 13 members representing our school committee, central office, school administrators, teachers, a high school student representative, parent representatives representing both general ed and special ed students' interests. I expect to bring you my final candidate recommendation at the April school committee meeting. So, ending on a very exciting event, that will occur before we meet again is April 8th. It's Total Solar Eclipse Day. I'm sure you've heard of it. Our teachers Principals and school PACs are planning some safe activities and lessons for all of our students to experience this daytime eclipse, whether at school or at home. The eclipse is expected to be partially visible over Tewksbury between, and I'm sure you've all read up on this. This is very exciting, a very unusual event to be happening during the school day, but will be partially visible over Tewksbury between 2:16 p.m. and 4:39 p.m. and can be tracked on the NASA website. It's a rare event, one that we will not see again for about 20 more years. So we're encouraging all of our schools to get students involved. I was totally thrilled to hear from some of our PACs who are buying all of our students the safe eclipse glasses, and to hear from one of our teachers at the Ryan School, Ms. Gretchen Martell. In fact, she's using this as a 6th grade teaching opportunity to our 5th grade students, because our 6th grade students studied this standard already. They're creating presentations and activities to safely educate the 5th grade students, their peers at the Ryan. So again, a very amazing and exciting event for all our inner scientists and astronomers amongst the Tewksbury Public Schools. With that, I conclude my updates for tonight.
That's great, thank you. Any questions, comments? Mr. Parsons?
I was in 6th grade at the Ryan the last time this happened, and I still remember the PAC activities and school activities for it, and looking at the eclipse for just like a little too long. It's a lot of fun. I don't know, it's just really cool to hear.
Meaningful event.
Let's hope for, sunny conditions, right? And
Right.
otherwise, no, just a question on the Yonder activity with the grant. And I might have missed it, and you might have said it, I apologize. How is, that messaging has not really gone out to families just yet, or has there been communication out?
Yeah, if you look at the timeline
Yeah.
through open house, but
Yeah.
not the minuscule details about the pilot.
Okay.
There's some time for that.
Okay.
The council's putting that together.
Okay.
But, there's a lot of work to do around it. I think the original idea was to pilot pre-MCAS starting, and Better Minds thought about that and said, geez, the kids already have a lot of anxiety. We know this is going to be difficult for kiddos. The key word here is the addiction, right, to the
Right.
phones, the reliance on them at all times.
Right.
The Yonder pouches serve as to, they won't disrupt their learning time, but they still have it right there, so they're not worried it's gone. Districts are trying all kinds of approaches to this. This is one that districts have had much success with. So we had the opportunity to get the grant, and we'll try it and see how that goes. How many of you have middle schoolers? I'm sure you're going to hear before we do. But again, our next meeting is April 10th, so we'll get some more detail about that communication going up for April vacation.
And is that grant that grant is just covering for the remainder of this school year, or will that take us into
Covers
next?
the pouches.
Covers the
and
pouches.
the magnets.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
for the number of students that are at the middle school now, roughly?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. McDermott, for your support and your guidance to the district, to us as a committee, and we wish you nothing but the best in your future role.
Thank you, and I'm not leaving just yet.
I know, that's why
I
I
know, I know.
Same here. Just to clarify.
And I think that's it for me.
Okay. Ms. Beardsley-Smith?
I have a question about the Care Solace. Is there a cost to participate with them?
There's and I don't remember the cost, maybe Ms. Olivia, it's a subscription.
You don't have to have it right now.
Yeah,
We can
it's
provide it.
really, when we think about wraparound supports and things for our families, we felt, families all too often tell us they can't access the supports they need when they leave us. And when our supports are meant to get the student through the school day, we don't offer the support needed for the full, the whole student and family. So we thought this was a good one. We find right now it's been very helpful. And we've heard nothing but good from families, because generally when they're calling or reaching out, they're in crisis. So when we hear good feedback about a network and a support system for them for that, makes us feel good. Money well spent.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's all?
That's all for me.
Yeah, I don't have much to comment on, other than also congratulations to you, Lori. I think, I hope this is a great opportunity for you, so.
Thank you.
You'll be definitely missed, and I look forward to the last few weeks that we have with you. So.
Same.
Okay, and Mrs. McDermott, that brings us to your report.
Yeah, I just have a few quick updates. We had a half-day workshop day today for professional development, where we primarily focused on building-based training on the new IEP for all staff. I'm really happy about that. One of my fears was that we would start the year implementing the IEP and not have had enough training. So I can't thank Mr. Pelletier and Ms. Therrett enough for all that they've put into really building up the training this year. I feel like it's just continued to grow from a small group of special educators to really reaching everybody, which is fantastic. We also provided grades K to 2 with building-based training in GEODS. GEODS is a part of our new ELA program where students are reading content-based decodable readers in small group settings. So this gives them a chance to practice in real books what they're learning in the Foundations program, where they're learning to sound out words. So that's super important. We were able to provide all of that training building-based as well. And so that's been an ask from the teachers on workshop days to try to keep things in their building. And they always appreciate being in their building when they're getting training and curriculum so they can access some of their own supplies. And so I'm grateful to Felicia Chinanovitz for planning all that and for all of the assistance from the principals to make that happen. Congratulations to Mary Grew, grade 3 at CES, and Lauren Tierney in grade 5 at the Ryan School. They both received a voucher from Merrimack College to take a class earned through supervising student teachers. A huge thank you to Mary and Lauren for supporting students entering into our profession. We certainly need them, and it's always nice for the students to have other student teachers around learning. So that's great. And in honor of, we know that March is National Reading Month, and we've been celebrating across the district. We've seen some incredible door decorations all over the schools from our amazing PACs, and we know that that's an enormous effort, and it's really quite professionally done. They look amazing, so thank you to them. All of the schools have celebrated in a variety of ways, and many of us, I know even some of you, along with us, have had the opportunity to read to some classrooms. I was lucky enough to read to Ms. Enos and Mrs. Balcourt's students, and had just a blast. It's definitely, we talked about how it's really hard to leave. You don't want to overstay your welcome, but certainly hard to leave, and received some adorable thank you notes from the students as well. So it's the highlight of our week. Just a quick update around standards-based report cards for families. The Term 2 grading period did close thanks to your vote on March 8th for grades 1 through 4, and Term 2 report cards will be available as an attachment in Aspen on April 1st. So keep your eye out for that. That will be our second trimester. And then the last reminder I have is just about MCAS. I've been talking about MCAS. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, it really is coming. It's grade 10 ELA MCAS testing will begin at TMHS on March 26th and 27th, in the first couple of weeks of April at Center, Ryan, and Wynn. So parents should just check the calendar for those dates at their respective schools in case they're not hearing directly from their students, which gets more and more challenging as they get older to even know that it's happening. So that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee?
I just have one funny comment. So the kids talk about teacher workshop, teachers telling the kids they're going to workshop. My kid came home and said, what do they build at workshop when they go to a workshop? I was like, it's not like a workshop. So just an interesting thing that they know they get the half a day. They're super psyched.
They might like that better. If it was an actual workshop.
We're talking about on the bus that they thought the teachers were building something, so.
That's
it's a funny
cute.
little thing, yeah.
Any comments over here?
No, thank you. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Liberty?
I just have an answer for your question.
So quick.
Here, Solace, I looked up, it was 20,000. We funded it with ESSER funds.
Yeah.
And in clarification, there's no cost to families or staff or their families. It's for the entire Tewksbury Public School District.
I believe that was a 3-year contract.
Thank you.
I need to confirm that.
Thank you. And anything else you want to add?
No, I
Update?
spoke enough tonight.
Can I just ask one question, though? Last meeting, we had talked about the bus app being delayed or not picking up the delayed days or half days. Was that fixed? Because I know today was a half day. Is that,
We thought it was.
yeah,
It didn't.
okay.
So I have to follow up and find out where they are with that. Because, yeah, they thought they did what the software company told them to do, but I spoke to some folks who said it didn't.
Okay. Yeah, if we could follow up.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think when I called, they said, oh, you have to delete the app and re-add the app. That should clear the cache or whatever was in there from old data, and that didn't
That didn't do it
either, no.
Interesting fix.
Thank you. And that brings us to the consent agenda. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention in there? Okay. Any more comments, questions on the consent?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in our packets this evening.
Okay.
1 second.
So a motion by Mr. Russo, second by Mrs. Biagioni Smith. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that passes unanimously. Next, we have our member reports, so starting with the CPAC, with Mr. Parsons or Mrs. Biagioni Smith.
We actually have some of their upcoming meeting is coming up. I actually don't have my calendar right in front of me. I'll check it in a second, but I believe it's the 21st. Thank you. The 21st is their next meeting. It's going to be part business meeting and part candidate forum to meet the upcoming school committee candidates. So there'll be more to come from that.
Okay.
CPAC also met with district admin to discuss some ongoing topics of discussion and concern. It's a meeting that I look forward to having regularly with the district leadership to kind of keep everybody in the know and keep everyone open and transparent about what's going on, what our members are saying, what our community is saying and needs. So I look forward to more of those and bringing back more information on that.
Great. Anything, Mr. Parsons?
I just want to thank the CPAC. It's a very, very good group of parents that are just looking out for their kids. And 3 years working with them was really a joy. I just want to make sure that's public.
That's awesome. All right. And anything on the CPAC comments? Okay. That brings us to Wellness Advisory Committee.
Yeah, we haven't met since our last meeting, so our next meeting is coming up April 3rd, so we'll have more to say next meeting.
Okay. And then for Policy Subcommittee, I'll let you speak, Mrs. Anderson.
Sure. So we did meet last Friday. Although we don't have any new policy to review, we did start work on a homework policy. We do have a plan to have that updated and reviewed so that we can implement it for next school year. So we'll be working on that, bringing that to you guys soon for a review. We also did start looking at the wellness policy. So we're starting to review the work that you guys have been doing on that committee. And then our next meeting is March 22nd.
Okay. Thank you. And so that, no policy changes, proposals, or adoption for tonight. Some of our new business, the Student Opportunity Act. Go over to Administrator.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, you may remember the Student Opportunity Act became a priority plan for all districts during the pandemic in our planning to keep all students safe and learning through that time frame. Now the focus of the SOA, it's lovingly referred to, is learning acceleration and recovery for all students. Our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. McDermott, has worked really hard on developing this plan with some of our fellow administrators, and she's going to share the highlights of this plan with you right now.
Thank you. So you have the full draft, and I gave you an updated draft because we did make some small changes to some of the money allocation. But I just wanted to highlight some of the main points for you because I know it is a lot to digest, and it does require a vote from you. It is due April 1st. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the Student Opportunity Act, and Mr. Libby is going to help me, and we're going to manage this like synchronized swimmers. Ready? Okay. Time to swim. Yes. So basically, every 3 years, every district in the Commonwealth is required to submit an SOA plan. And one of the things that was really emphasized this year is that it is not related to whether or how much money, additional funds that you might get in your Chapter 70 funding. And I think that's kind of been the way that it's been looked at in the past. And so for us, and you know, like for every district, it's more about identifying the key evidence-based programs the district will focus on and the resources that the district plans to allocate from any funding source over the next 3 years to highlight and really support high-quality implementation of the program. I have really enjoyed doing this work and looking into this data and developing this plan. It's different from the district improvement plan in that the district improvement plan is based on goals to support all students in our district. The SOA highlights a subset of the district's overall initiatives, and it's focused on rapidly improving outcomes for student groups who are experiencing the greatest disparities. So for me, I think for us, it's a kind of a fun, if you will, group to focus on and look at overall, how are all of our students performing against all of our subgroup data. And so when you disaggregate that data, it's expected that you're going to pick a student group to focus on. So the plan is monitored annually by the state through specific metric data provided by the district, and that's a requirement of the plan. So, did you skip? I think you need to just, you're good, I'm out of order, sorry. So in determining the student groups, we took a deep dive into all of our data, local data, universal screening data, NELA, our local assessment data, MCAS achievement and student growth, looked at chronic absenteeism for all students and for our subgroups. We also considered recent findings that you've heard all about from our tiered focus monitoring and our comprehensive district review, which focused on least restrictive environment and inclusive practices. So what you're looking at now is a snapshot of our ELA and our MCAS data that shows that only about 20% of our students with disabilities are meeting or exceeding expectations on math and ELA MCAS, and our average student growth is showing less than 1 year's growth. The slide also shows that our students with disabilities scores on MCAS fall below the state average. And in this slide, you're seeing that they're falling below the state average for all students. And even when we look at a different take on it when we're comparing students with disabilities to other students with disabilities in the state, they still are falling below. So as a result, our 3-year SOA plan is focused on our students with disabilities. You're doing great. So we are committed to supporting our students with disabilities with evidence-based programs. So that's the job of the plan, and we had to select how we were going to do this. So the two that we have highlighted in our SOA plan are comprehensive tiered supports and high leverage practices with students with disabilities. And this made a lot of sense for us because we're talking about this in our district goals all the time anyway, really. But it does give us a platform to really bring this data to light and kind of light a fire under everybody to say, how are we going to support these students and what is this plan going to look like? How are we going to monitor it and make sure that our students are making growth? So this slide shows some of our action steps. I'm not going to go into great detail and read them all to you, but overall, we're planning to continue our work with MTSS and restructuring our SST framework. to
Stop us if you have any questions on all these acronyms. There's a lot.
multi-tiered systems of support. The SST is a part of that, and it's the student support team. So if a teacher has any concerns about a student, who they can bring that to a group of professionals in the school, some relative experts, to discuss their concern and get some feedback, and hopefully determine an area of focus, write an intervention plan, determine who's providing the intervention, what materials they're going to use, how progress will be monitored, how often, and when they'll meet again to check up on that student. That is a common practice. It's an expectation across every district to have a plan like that in place. So we have been working, since I've been here, on restructuring that and making some progress there. We want to take that a step further as part of this plan to develop an MTSS playbook for SEL, social emotional learning, and academic interventions for teachers to provide targeted support to students. Sometimes teachers are bringing students to the student support team for advice around academic concerns, but also it can be social emotional behavioral. We will also provide PD around tiered interventions and inclusive practices for academic, social, emotional, behavioral, and for chronic absenteeism. Our data showed that 46% of our students with disabilities at TMHS are considered chronically absent, which means they're missing more than 10% of the school year. So this is an area I know the team at TMHS is working to address actively. We are also looking to bring on an assistant director for program improvement who will support the onset of the new IEP, oversee effective and more individualized programming for students on IEPs, and support the MSNTs and case managers in the implementation of this work. Okay, so I mentioned that we need to monitor the plan. So we selected some metrics to help us do that, and these are some examples of the metrics we'll use to monitor the progress of our evidence-based programs. So generally speaking, we're aiming to see a decrease in special education referrals. If our multi-tiered systems of support are working well, hopefully we're providing regular education interventions to students that will ultimately keep them out of special education. It's always the goal to keep, students in the classroom as long as you possibly can. We really don't want to remove students from core instruction unless it is absolutely necessary for them to receive a specialized program in another setting. And that really should be a small amount of students. So we'll be looking at those referrals, hopefully coming down, improved MCAS scores, and screening data, as well as more inclusionary practices in all settings to meet all students' needs. So this slide, you have seen this before in the most recent MCAS presentation last fall. I just wanted to put it in as a reminder of all of the wonderful things that we're so proud of that are happening in Tewksbury already, and I've said that since I arrived here. We really have kind of a model Tier 1 program right now. It's what everybody across the state is trying to achieve. And thanks to you and the funds that you've supported, we've been able to implement some amazing programs. So those programs will also benefit our students with disabilities. So, and with all of this in place, we know we need to do more. Our data tells us that we need to do more. Our referral data, our students that are not having enough inclusion time, and we are committed to continuing to collect and disaggregate our data to ensure that all of our students, but in this particular case, our students with disabilities, are making meaningful progress. Questions? That was a pretty quick overview
was
of a
quick.
very
Yeah.
comprehensive plan. I tried to stick very carefully to my notes, but happy to answer any questions.
And Mr. Parsons, from you, anything?
I have no questions. I just appreciate how candid and honest you were in explaining that. That's hard to do, and I feel really glad to see that we're going to own this and we're going to work towards improving it.
We have to.
We have to.
Yeah,
I
we
agree,
do.
and it's refreshing to hear.
I think I'd like to add to that, Nick, especially where you've served on the CPAC, and we have shared some of these concerns with the leadership, and we know we want to speak more candidly with the parent group of the CPAC, because this is hard to think about in overall, but then those changes, and we did ask the CPAC for some trust and faith that what we want is the success of all their students. So when they hear us talk about more inclusion and least restrictive environment, to trust and talk with us through that, because we're not trying to take things away. We're trying to make sure that their students succeed better than they are now. And we were honest with each other about that. Parents are in fear when we're facing a change. And so it starts with the real data, and then us focusing in on what we need to do together. So appreciate that you brought that up. Our parents need us as well to think this through.
Okay. Mr. Russo?
No, I don't have any questions. I think and you kind of touched upon it, Ms. McDermott, about at the end of the day, every kid is a general education student that may then require certain services. And
Absolutely true.
I can't stress that point enough at the end of the day. And so when we look at this particular group, which obviously this plan focuses on, and then you see some of the improficiencies rising, it then makes me wonder, is a part of that because they are being pulled out of the classroom more than they should be?
And that's
not getting that instructional time.
That is the question. That's what we're bringing to the table to talk about, is if the students were, and I think with this plan, we have to do still a lot more digging into who the students are, what their services are, where they're getting those services, at what time, what are they missing, all of that. But if the students were getting that service and making effective progress, then great. We would say this is wonderful, it's working. But where we're not seeing the kind of success that we want to see for our students, it's our obligation to just take a second look at what are we offering. And I keep wondering, our Tier 1 program is completely changed, especially at those foundational levels now. And so there may have been a time where it may have made sense that students did need a little more pullout. But now, where we have such a robust early, foundational literacy program, I can't imagine who shouldn't be
Part of that.
receiving that instruction. Yeah, a part of that. So that's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking into, and that's part of why I'm so excited about having an opportunity, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, to take a look at this and get this off the ground.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you think that some of the causes that's a pretty staggering number, almost half of the students that you're focused on have chronic absenteeism. So I'm assuming that you're looking at how do we get these kiddos back into school?
Yeah, we're working closely with the high school, and the high school is absolutely, 100% invested in this, and have done they've done some holding accountable, which sometimes parents don't like to hear that. As a parent of a senior who went to detention this morning, sorry, he might be watching. He actually might. And if you are, well, I'm glad you went, because in life we do have consequences, and sometimes what we call punitive measures, there are expectations. So they are looking at that for some students. But we had a real conversation around that half of the students with disabilities are chronically absent. So they're looking at, they've had some success with one-on-one finding what motivates that one student and setting a plan together with that student to make it happen. It's actually been really moving to see. Can we hit them all one by one and talking about how do we involve those students and what might help them get here? And will those kinds of interactions with students teach us about what we need to do more globally with everybody to make sure that all of our kids want to come to school? And we know that as parents, we want every kid to want to go to school, right? Kids have very little choice in their life while they're children. They have to be here. So we want to make it, a place where they want to be. We know that I think for most of our students, I would say there's a strong sense of belonging, and that's been a real focus. And, there are some other factors that we've talked about, a general sense of families have experienced school at home and been out of the routine. We know that there is a little bit for some people of I'm going to do this now. I'm not going to wait for that vacation. I'm going to take that vacation. I know that it'll be okay. So I think we still have to keep educating, and the state is dedicated to educating families on how important it is to be in school and that you really can't duplicate what happens in school. And so they're working on that.
Good. And then, sorry, just the last question. Is the funding for this through a grant, or is it part of our budget?
So there is no funding. Some districts will get additional Chapter 70 funds. We really weren't one of those lucky districts. So the expectation is that you're going to develop a plan and you're going to focus on these disparities regardless of, and that is perfectly fine with us because our budget represents and tells the story of our district goals, and this is absolutely a district goal: strengthening instructional supports, data-driven decision-making, literacy for all. Right? I mean, it's in every one of our goals. So it's really just the allocation of funds and how we're doing that.
Okay, because there's funding required in the
We
document,
have
but it's
to-
already part of.
Dedicated.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Dedicated funding. And I think, again, Lori just hit on a key. You've heard Dave say it, you've heard us say it at the retreat or through the district strategic plan. Every dollar we spend should be focused towards our goals. Now, you're hearing a real focus right into our goals on student support. We intend to spend that money, the PD, the screeners, because we need it to support those goals. This, I think you used the term that I keep saying, lights a fire, to be accountable for those particular pieces of your goals. And that's why you have to say, okay, we'll spend money on it then. It's a plan meant to really hone in on making us say how, what we'll spend, and how will we know. It's good practice.
Okay, good, thank you.
I wish there were more money, but
Right, yeah.
yeah, that would help.
Speech, Attorney Smith.
I have a couple of things. So the first is, I think you said it a minute ago, maybe in response to something Mr. Russo said about the new literacy program. It's interesting timing, I guess, to see this roll out along with that, because you'll have like a little bit of overlap, I guess, between some of that. The program is great, and I wish I had a kid that was going through it now, because I think there's a lot of benefits to this new program, and I think this will just strengthen the significance of how important that change was over to that.
Math as well, and that's
Yeah.
something that we're concerned with when especially in the early childhood educational years, when any student is pulled out of learning new math. So that's of significant interest to us as well. We know that the foundational math at the early grades is critical, that every student is in that gen ed room. So every student's a gen ed math learner. That's an area of focus as well. So the ELA, yes, but I want to go backwards to thinking about all that time spent on improving real number understanding, and that's part of this plan too. So thank you.
Absolutely great. I think I'd love to see the CPAC get more involved with some of there's so many families that could probably benefit from coming together and talking about things. From the younger age all the way up through high school, if you're talking about students that are in high school with disabilities that are struggling, or families that may be struggling, and I'd love to see the CPAC maybe come together in some way for that group, and maybe that's something that we bring back and talk with them about, or maybe you or whomever comes to.
Love to.
Share.
Yes.
I think it's a great opportunity there. I appreciate the dedication, the commitment, the allocation to this population. I think it's a testament to what our district cares about, and that's, making sure that everyone is getting what they deserve and what they're entitled to. And then the last thing, I think it's at the end here about some stats. I look forward to seeing some of that once we start to see the data roll in about it as well. So thank you so much.
you.
I just had a few questions. Thank you for addressing the budget. That was a big piece for me. I also noticed that you mentioned an independent audit pertaining to special education program practices.
yeah.
What would that look like and what timeline? do you
Well,
think?
soon, very soon. I think, again, we're at a really wonderful opportunity. Not that we're happy that Mr. Pelletier is retiring, but as we shepherd in a new leader, as we look at doing things a little different, as we look at the Student Opportunity Act, it's time to just assess again our special ed programming and practices, our systems. We've done this before. I think if any of you have been around long enough, you remember the Gagliotti report, and then we brought in NESDEC, and we focus in on, it's a snapshot of how we do things now, how can we improve? So the timing is right. We should look at, we're seeking some, through our colleagues, some potential groups that would be worth doing this work for Tewksbury. We're not expecting to spend a lot of money, but that would come out of the 240 special ed grant. Remember, we also have the TFM criteria we have to address, and we have the LEA determination for special education, and that will be a criteria that we will have to face in bringing up our needing intervention.
Okay, great.
The report,
Yeah.
an audit and a report will help us focus
Yeah,
in
I
shorter
think
words.
I'm a big fan of audits. I think,
We are too.
yeah, it's something that I just kind of like a lot. So I'm happy to see you doing that. Also, the family engagement survey, I was happy to see that as well. I think it's important for families to feel like they have a voice as they see any sort of pivoting happening. So I appreciate that. So not just the outreach in person at the meeting, but I think the survey could be helpful too. I'd be curious to also know a little bit about chronic absenteeism at the high school for general education students. I mean, what is the percentage there? Just curious.
Well, we
Actually have it.
we do better than the state average in the aggregate,
Okay,
at every grade level. Actually, the overall district level where,
but now that's fine.
and I
I
can share that
have
with
it.
you. We have it printed in the office as well.
I have it. I actually kept these slides handy in case you asked a question that I might want to reference them. So for all students, they met their target at the high school level, and there was 20% of students missed 10%, more than 10% of the school year. And that was down from 2022, it was 21%. It's gone down to 20%, moving in the right direction. We got points for that. We met our target. And then when we go down to our students with disabilities, we had 39% in 2022 who were more than 10%, missed 10% of school, and to 46. So it increased. So we declined, obviously did not get any accolades from the state for that. But we need to look into this. And we can speculate all we want about the reasons, but at the end of the day, we want our kids to come to school. And you can imagine that if a student, I don't know, are they struggling to get here because I don't have, could be a multitude of reasons, but that's what we really need to find out. And in working with the high school, they're completely committed to doing that work.
Great. And then who does this report get submitted to, or is this just internal?
It goes to the state. So we submit it in the GEMS program in our grant management system, even though it's not really a grant. And then they'll reach out to us about data collection and checking in on us, and I'm quite sure they won't forget.
We have to publish it as well after
Yeah.
the vote, so that it's available.
Okay, I think that about covers some of my questions. But again, I echo Mr. Parsons that I couldn't be more proud of the fact that this is information that is not being, put aside, that it's being tackled head-on and in a pretty comprehensive way. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think if I could just end on this one note, we've said for how many years that all means all, and all has to mean all. We can't live with this data and say all means all, or that we are a community that fully includes everybody. So I think if people hear that that's what we truly, mean to at the heart, and that's what we're attempting to accomplish here, is really all students succeeding.
And we know that our teachers are working, all of the teachers, regular educators, special educators, everybody is working very, very hard toward student success. So that's why we really want to look at what do they need? What kind of professional development do they need? What kind of resources do they need? And do we have the right programming that's matching the student at this time? If we're looking at progress monitoring data and we're not seeing our students aiming in the right direction, then we know that we have to back up and just check that programming. I just want to make it clear that no one believes that teachers are not going out of their way for all students. They absolutely are. I think it's more on all of us to take a step back and really look at all student data and say, okay, even our students, including our students on IEPs, who sometimes we think are sort of taken care of by the IEP because it's got goals and benchmarks, and but I think we need to look a little more closely at some of that progress monitoring data and just make sure that we're continuing to see the growth in the right direction. And if not, we just have to fix it, just change course.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. So we do have to vote on this
Yes.
to approve it. It's a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the Student Opportunity Act as presented this evening.
I'll
By the
second.
district.
Okay, so a motion by Mr. Russo, second by Mr. Parsons. And Mr. Parsons, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
Mrs. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. BJ Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The only other ask I have is that maybe, every other month or so, or periodically, just some updates on, where's the status? Where are you at? Because you've got some great things identified. Just keep us updated.
Be happy to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. That was also, next is the superintendent's evaluation timeline. This is very similar to timelines that, we've seen in the last couple of years now. So we're looking at on or about June 24th to July 2nd. We should expect Mrs. Terry O'Regan will share with us her superintendent self-evaluation documents via email with her progress of goals and self-assessment. And then individually, school committee members will consult with her as they wish and maybe set appointments or, have correspondence with her through June 24th and July 2nd. And then on or about July 10th, we'll be looking at the school committee members submitting their individual evaluations to the chair of the school committee, who would then synthesize the data, summarize for the final superintendent evaluation report, and then on or about July 17th, the chairperson will be delivering the oral and written summary of the superintendent's evaluation in public session. Any questions, concerns, comments, issues with that timeline?
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I
And
might,
Mrs.
I
Terry
think
Regan,
that
do you
July.
have any concerns?
No, I don't, except for that July 17th date, which I think you're going to address at the
Yeah.
end of the meeting tonight. But
Yeah.
whatever that date should change to be,
Yeah.
I think this looks fine.
Okay, that works for you. I think it's helpful, too, because it looks like it's towards the end of the school year, so hopefully that'll be
Thank
helpful
you.
for everybody. And then now we're looking at our next topic, 18C. I'll turn that over to you, Mrs. Terry Regan.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I think we all recognize that the time has come to once again reassess the current needs of all of our schools' facilities, especially in conjunction with our town's declining student enrollment. We also recognize that the community needs to weigh in on decisions to be made for both the short and long-term planning of all of our schools in Tewksbury. We have aging schools. They require major repairs. Certainly, they have been maintained amazingly to keep them open and functioning because we are still using them and our students still go to them. You used a perfect term earlier, Madam Chair. We have been, John Marchand and his crew have been triaging them so that they're high-quality facilities still for our students for now and the foreseeable future. But as you can read in the memo I have provided, Tewksbury evaluated the needs of all of our schools back in 2006 and then again in 2012. While we have opened 2 new schools in that time and maintained all of our schools to the best of our ability, with the town support, we do need a plan moving forward for the remaining 2 elementary schools, their upkeep and maintenance needs. Also at the Ryan and the Wynn, I don't know if people realize, the Ryan is in its 25th year and the Wynn is 23 years after being open. I want to say it was in 1969, it might have been 1964. That's how old the Wynn is, had a renovation in 23-ish years ago, 2001. So all of our schools really need to be reevaluated as to what is needed in any kind of big maintenance plan and maybe reorg or reassess what we're doing with the 2 oldest schools. So can you have the memo I shared with you in your packet? I am asking you to vote on whether you want to send that request to our select board to reestablish the long-range school space planning committee again. And with your affirmative vote tonight, I hope, I will send a letter to the select board to get that topic onto one of their upcoming select board meeting agendas.
Any discussion?
Yeah, actually, it's just going to be on process there. So this is going to the select board, a memo coming from the superintendent's office to the select board, which they will then vote and then seek out stakeholders from the community and other potential committees in town and whatnot to potentially be a part of that.
Correct.
Is that okay? Yeah, this is great.
Mr. Parsons, any comments?
No.
All right, Mrs. Anderson?
No, I'm glad we're bringing this up because I think it's needed. We got to get going on this because the process is just too long. And our schools are too old, some of these ones, so thank you.
Just keep our fingers
Mrs. B. Joni
crossed.
Smith?
No questions.
I think it's very timely. I think if talking with people in the community, there's definitely a lot of concern and with regards to enrollment. I think there's a lot of kind of hearsay rumors that kind of float around because if you're really paying attention to these numbers, there's a lot of meaning in there. And I think it's not just as easy as it seems to be able to shuffle some of the resources and how things are allocated. So having this kind of a committee, I think, is going to dial in on some of that, even beyond just the usage of buildings, but just also the allocation of some of the resources. So
It's been an effective practice.
Yeah.
It's worked well for the schools and the town.
I think it'll be good, and it'll bring some transparency to the process too. So I like that. So at this time, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to reestablish the long-range school place planning committee recommendation to the select board from the superintendent's office.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. With a yay, it would be to reestablish long-range school space planning committee. Mr. Parsons, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mr. Russo?
Yay.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yay.
Mrs. B. Joni Smith? And the chair votes aye as well. So that's for a unanimous vote. Thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
I do have one surprise addition to your new business agenda, and that is a request of the Tewksbury Memorial High School robotics team to attend the 2 in-state and 1 out-of-state competitions. You have the memo in front of you. It will require a vote. I just want to note that the students will not miss any time from classes for both the Reading and Durham competitions. However, if they do qualify for the 3rd competition, the New England Championship in Springfield, they will miss Thursday and Friday of that week. Principal Long has reviewed all of the details and the compliance to your policy on in and out of school field trips, and has approved this request. So this, again, does require a vote of the school committee to allow the robotics team to move forward in the upcoming competitions.
Okay, any comments, questions?
No.
No, this time. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request from the TMHS robotics team to attend the out-of-state competition.
I'll second that.
Okay,
In-state and out-of-state.
In-state and out-of-state for clarification.
so, so that would be for the North Shore District Competition in Reading, UNH Competition in Durham, and the New England Championship in Springfield, Mass., which is tentative. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, and that passes unanimously. All right, and I completely understand, sometimes these things they come together late, so.
On your way out, you can probably stop by and see them hard at work, because they're a group that's very dedicated to that robot, working wonderfully.
I'm excited for them. They're a strong team. New school committee matters of interest. I'd like to start with just a housekeeping item. For the meeting in July, it came to my attention that the superintendent and potentially future assistant superintendent would be out of state for our meeting on July 17th for the MASS conference. So we would like to move that meeting to July 24th. This doesn't require a vote, but just want to make sure everybody's all in favor. There's no conflict or concern. All right, so that will be happening. And I'm sure that'll be reflected on our website pretty soon. The next thing, we can go through some other items, but I would like to also recognize that tonight is Nick's final meeting. I'd like to say thank you so much for your service. We started on the committee together, and it was a tricky time. We're in hybrid, and there's been a lot of changes since. So we've done a lot of hard work, and it's been very rewarding. So I just want to say thank you for your service, Nick, and thank you for stepping up. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, no, appreciate the time.
Mrs. Anderson?
Thank you. We didn't work together too long, but I appreciate your support in getting me up to speed on all the school committee things.
Mrs. B. Jones Smith?
Yeah, I echo what the fellow committee members said. Thank you for putting your time in and stepping up to do something that not a lot of people do.
Yes, and from administration?
Yeah, Nick, I think we've known each other the longest here, right? I remember you as a freshman, effervescent, all excited to join the boys' track team. And I'm super serious when I say that. So I do have a little bit longer of something to say. I'm not going to go on too long, but I just remember how involved you got and just how you embraced that team culture and where everyone supported one another to succeed. And those are the memories I have when we first met. I want to thank you for bringing that spirit forward and raising your hand to be part of our team. I know there's been a lot of challenging times and, ups and downs. But more than anything, I've seen that you've grown to trust all that we're working collectively as a team to do for our families and students. So I thank you for your growth mindset, for the experience as an educator that you've brought. Thank you for keeping the faith all this time and working together for our students, our staff, and our families. I hope you continue to watch from afar, maybe call and give your perspective every now and then, and I'm always happy to hear it. But more than anything, I hope you enjoy the time off with your loved ones and your family. So thank you.
Thanks. And then a quick plug for Lauren for her thanks and appreciation, because, it's definitely taken your
Takes a toll.
time.
I also want to say thank you. I know we've only worked together for a short time, but I appreciate how welcoming you have been to me and how supportive you have been with all of the things that we bring to you. So it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, also, Nick, thanks for your service and appreciate your bringing educators, instructor, teacher perspective to the table. Always want to hear that side of things when sometimes we're looking at things from a different perspective. So it's nice to have that brought to the table.
Okay. Anything you want to say, Nick, or I can move on?
Yeah, and I did edit, so conscientious. It really was a privilege to be able to serve my town, especially during such unique and challenging times. I have a bunch of thank yous to run through, and I have some parting words, and then I'm done, promise. I really need to thank our chair, Bridget Garabedian. You're an angel, like, truly. I mean that. I need to thank my committee members, present, past, and future, for just having patience with me while I learned this role. I got on at 27. Like, I don't know much about anything. I can't emphasize the word patient enough. Thank you, truly. I need to thank the stakeholders in town that are deeply engaged in what our schools and our local government does. There's not enough of us. I wasn't really sure what it meant to serve your community, but I definitely do now. I need to thank all of our out-of-the-classroom staff. That's our custodians, our nurses, our secretaries, our business office, the town office, our collaborative town manager. No magic happens in schools without all of them, period. I owe thanks to our district administrators over the past few years. Best of luck in Billerica, Lori.
Thank you.
There's a need for people like you in every school, and they're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I used to think that only teachers went through it in school, and I could not have been more wrong. I would never take a superintendent job, ever. It's a nearly impossible job, especially as of late, and it was never easy, pre-pandemic either. I really need to thank Superintendent Regan for positioning this district to be successful now and more so in the future, and it takes a lot for me to trust the plan and buy into it, as I've demonstrated several times. I just hope you can reap the rewards of all this work while you're still in this seat. I was told Brenda would bring stability to this district. That was the last piece of feedback I heard before we voted to hire her. I saw a need for that at the time, so it was kind of a no-brainer. She's exceeded expectations in my mind, and there's always more work to be done, always. And you embrace it, as we just saw with supporting our special education students more. And I really need to thank everyone at Central Office for supporting her in our vision. It was lofty. We basically tasked Brenda with bring the whole community together and then get our kids like really like smart stuff. Make sure they're happy too. That sounds easy, but that is hard. I know she's very intense and hard to keep up with, which is why I think she was such a great hire. And it takes a team, so you all really deserve big thank you for that. I need to thank my family and friends. There's a lot of sacrifice with this service. A lot of my own sacrifice comes at their expense. So I am really looking forward to getting time back with them. I need to thank our in-classroom staff. That's our principals, their assistant principals, our education support personnel, and especially my distant colleagues, our Tewksbury educators. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't. I ran on the platform of Restore, Recover, Grow. At the time, I thought it'd be a nice little 3-step action plan I could campaign on, and I could be here at this point and talk about all my successes. And there are plenty. But that's not where I am now. I'm not here to boast. We still have a lot of work to do, and I'm really proud of the work that has been done. I think about this grow part a lot. That's the ultimate goal, right? The only measure of that is the only measure that matters, and it's how our students are doing. And I know they're even beyond measures, they're doing great. I think the hurdle to our growth, and this is just my opinion, I've had a unique experience of sitting in the seat. I'm a teacher. I made relationships with the CPAC. I can wave to Rich Russo, and it's not weird at Market Basket. I have been to the bottom and the top of the mountain. I have been on the DI committee, and I've gone to Kyoto's. I have a very wide breadth of people that I've gone to know doing this. And the thing that sticks out to me the most is we're all on the same team, whether you know it or not, and we're all in it for kids, even if it looks a little different. Take it from me, when the contention fades, the joy that accompanies schooling and why we do it, that will fill its place. And as long as this community shows each other some grace and we commit to our kids, I really don't think there's a limit to what we can do. I don't know what the answer is to keep our district growing. I'm not convinced money is it, and I encourage everyone in negotiations to think about the other advantages of the job. Like, there's not enough money for time, in my opinion, right now. Sometimes I think we're distracted from the core work of our kids, much more less so than when I got on. But I really need to encourage all stakeholders on every side, and there shouldn't even be sides. We're all on the same team. And also, nothing for nothing, if you ask for money, or like Richard's probably gonna say no, and I support that because I'm a Tewksbury resident too. I'm really proud of our schools. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Nick. Those were some great words. So, just a couple other things I would like to add. Don't forget the Chrissy Palomino and the Ginsburg Awards are still open until April 12th. Chrissy Palomino Outstanding Educator Award recognizes an educator. Ginsburg Family Award recognizes a group or a company or organization that has had a significant impact in the schools. All the information is on the applications. They're posted on the website. If you want to please, please, please nominate somebody and you can't find the information, call central office. Mrs. Johnson would be happy to give you the information. Email one of us, call one of us. We would like to have quality applicants or people nominated because these are just such really great awards. So if you can get the word out to your family and friends, people in the district, that would be very helpful. And then also, I just wanted to put a plug that Rich and I will both be visiting the Win on Friday. We're shadowing a team of 4 teachers, and I think swapping around. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but, you know, I look forward to it. It sounds like it'll be a good experience, so.
Thank you, Team 7C, for.
I think that, yes, thank you to Team 7C, and I think there was some mention of 7 a.m., so.
7:10.
Forget your
Yep.
snack, your pencils, your notebook, yes.
So I'll be ready. Any other matters of interest, Mrs.
I just have
Peterson?
one, I just want to thank the, Mr. DePrima for the drama trip to New York City on a very rainy ride home and daylight savings time mixed in there. I think we got a very nice email, some pictures. I know that I have a very upset 7th grader that didn't get to go this time, but looks forward to it in the future and got to see how wonderful it was. So thank you to him and the team that took that group on such a memorable trip.
Yeah, spectacular. Mrs. Anderson and Mr. Russo.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, just the only thing I'll just add is I just want to send my appreciation to the center school staff, Mr. Harding. I actually got to go and, Mrs. McDermott, you mentioned earlier about Read Across America Week. I got to spend time in about 3 different classrooms over the course of last week. And again, that's just the reward to all the work that we're doing. And we don't get to see it. We don't get to see it play out all the time because we're not in the schools during the day. So certainly a highlight of the last month for me, for sure. So thank you.
Thank you for making time for that.
Yeah.
With everything else you guys do.
It was fun. And future school committee meeting dates, April 10th, regular meeting, and which is also a reorg meeting, May 1st, regular meeting, May 6th, annual town meeting, and May 8th, special town meeting. Annual town meeting will reconvene, and school committee will be in attendance. May 22nd is a regular meeting. Future subcommittee advisories, we talked about CPAC on March 21st, wellness on April 3rd, policy on March 22nd. Any future agenda items that weren't already discussed? I think we have a DAV possibly coming up for April, and then, or the.
I think the volunteer, isn't it National Volunteer Month or?
Yeah, it's National Volunteer Month, so
Yes.
we're looking at doing a volunteer reception prior to our meeting, and there was mention of having the WIN come in as well at some point,
Right.
so I don't know how you want to factor that in. But those are the only things that come to mind for me. And then that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Russo, second by
Take that from me? Come on.
Adjourn at 8:53 PM.